It's the Blues on the streets.
Parade's complete.
And Gloria is the new queen.
You can't forsake your team in last place.
As they sang the Bruins to sleep.
My memory is scummy. What's this podcast that I'm in?
Man, last season's out again, and Rink Moose is back in.
Hey Pierre, what's wrong? What's going on?
No team's gonna cut you a deal.
Mitch said, hey Austin, you're awesome. Drop your pants and shock them. Now score like your team's freaking near.
Unfriggin' believable.
Sen's got no stars or snipers, but it's best draft in years.
At least fans can't sleep easy because here comes Lafreniere. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 13 of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, a episodic podcast where two good friends gather around this table and discuss all things NHL and their implications in the fantasy hockey universe. I am one of your hosts, as always, Nick Costu, along with my good pal Kyle Nice, and introducing for his second appearance on the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, everybody's favorite Italian meatball, Joseph Camilleri. Joseph, how's it going today, buddy?
Thanks for the introduction, Nick. I really appreciate it. Honestly, thanks, guys, for having me on the show. You guys do great work here, and I'm just really happy to comment on the Leafs, especially after yesterday and what's been going on with them. But yeah, just thanks for having me, and I'm really excited to get started.
We're honored to have you, Joe, and we've got a ton to talk about. As you know, this might be a record length, and right now I could barely come on the show, Nick. I could barely make it on the show. I almost quit. I almost quit Rink Moose.
You almost quit? Why. Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, it's we're tough waters right now. I mean, we just got off the air recording our live reaction video to the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes, the finale, the grand finale. Alexis Lafreniere is headed to Broadway.
Oh.
So
Damn it.
Hey, I
can't do it, man.
Listen, I prefaced this episode last time saying it would be action packed. We'd be recapping series, previewing series, but we gotta comment on this, Kyle. We'd been talking about this for 8-9 months, even longer than that. Everyone's crying to hear your reaction here. Initial reactions to the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes.
Well, I'd like to contextualize things for Joe because we have been covering this player since the beginning of this season and even prior to that. And me in particular, for whatever reason, I have an affection for French Canadians. So a first overall French Canadian who fucking showed up at the World Juniors, you can bet how hard I was for this player. So I was like, I'm bandwagon number one, left, right, and center. And I had a tiered list, and I told Nick, I said, you know what? Worst case scenario, we've got like Florida, and then Nashville, and then New York. Everything else, I'll be happy or elated, absolutely elated. So when we got the word that it was New York, and you saw the ball was heavier than the rest, it was fucking rigged. I was absolutely devastated. You'll see it in the YouTube channel on Rink Moose YouTube. I mean, I can't get a Rangers jersey. I can't do it. I just can't bring myself. And I promised Nick that I'd get any jersey that comes up on that lottery table.
Except for the Rangers.
And I don't feel I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
Well, like you were saying before, I mean, I guess it's better than going to like a market like Florida or Nashville where you'll never see him play. And if you do see him play, it's going to be some boring Tuesday night game against like Carolina, and no one's going to on Fox Sports Florida, and no one's going to stay up to watch that. I mean, I guess like glass half full, half empty. Half full, I guess that he goes to an original six team. The rebuild's going faster than anticipated. Mm-hmm. They got two studs in net. Artemi Panarin on that team. although they did get rinsed by Carolina. So like rinsed by. And by the way, I just want to point out I'm cheering for the Hurricanes in this playoffs.
Ooh, okay.
They have a couple of ex-Leafs that have some soft spots for me, and James Reimer and Jake Gardiner, and I just love the way they play. But no, obviously, like we were talking before the show, I wanted him to go to a team like Pittsburgh or Edmonton or Toronto and just cause like pandemonium, even Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Some Canadian team.
Yeah.
Would have been great. Obviously, the most fitting part, obviously they upset Pittsburgh, but going to Montreal would have been truly amazing. I think that would have been the best possible thing to see.
Cinderella.
And you know me and Nick, I hate the Habs. You know that. But it would have been great to see him go there. But it's not all bad, but it's the Rangers, it's just not sexy enough. At the end of the day, it's just not sexy enough.
And to me, it's almost a story of, we talk about the Edmontons and Torontos and the Pittsburghs who don't, quote-unquote, deserve it. I mean, the Rangers won the draft lottery last year and took Kaapo Kakko, who some argue was the best player of that draft. And then they had Panarin walk in free agency, and then they had Trouba walk in free agency.
Just pisses you off.
And then you look at Winnipeg, who lost those guys, and they lost Scheifele in the fucking play-in series, and you're like, cut him a break, right?
I know.
It just hurts, man. That was my number one pick was Winnipeg, and this slaps you so hard.
Did anyone see Kyle Dubas there? He just didn't.
Yeah,
he did not want to be there.
No.
He looked upset. He's like, "Oh shit, I got an entire off season worth of work to do."
I made the comment. It looks like he can't go with internet for like 3 months because you dare not read.
Yeah.
You dare not read a thing.
He's got to deactivate Twitter.
Yeah.
Every Leaf fan 50 and up is calling for his head.
Yeah, so he's going under the rock, and he'll be back like when he's needed.
Exactly.
So I think that does it for the draft lottery. Nick, what's your take on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was not as passionate and emotional as you because I have less to lose here. I'm pretty happy. My Kings obviously won the second overall pick, so I'm pretty happy I'm going to get Byfield or Laugh.
You're going to get Stützle.
There is talk of maybe the Rangers going with Byfield. Because they need a center more than a winger.
Baloney.
But hey, who knows? I don't know. He was just reading.
I'll tell you who it's from. It's from fucking writers who want clickbait articles to be read.
Fair enough.
That's where it's
Anyways, I'm happy with how it went down with my squad. Leafs obviously didn't get him, but it almost feels like it would be too easy a solution for young Dubas.
He would be so good on the Leafs.
We'll get into the Leafs, but the point is, I think he's going to a team that it could have been a lot worse. He could have went to a more established all-star pack team, which the Rangers aren't quite yet. Maybe in 3 years they will be, 2 years maybe. So I think all in all, it's a good fit, good market. East Coast, we'll get to watch a ton of his games. Yeah, I'm not complaining.
My last word on this is that I do believe strong possibility Ottawa does try to package 3 and 5 for one. I think Eugene Melnyk wants that marketable star to fill his building, and you won't get that from a third and a fifth. I think you'll get that with Lafreniere. Everyone knows this kid. I think that's what they want.
I mean, what matters more?
Exactly.
What matters more, bringing fans to the arena or building a championship team?
Well, for Melnyk.
For Melnyk, it's bringing fans to the arena.
I mean, he's got pull.
What was our experience like in Ottawa? We couldn't believe that the arena was located in a suburb.
Right. They need help. They need all the help they can get.
Yep.
And they won't get that with Drysdale. I'm sorry.
And if I were Ottawa, I'd do everything I can to try and package it 3 and 5 for one. I mean, the benefits of having someone like Lafreniere for that team and for that organization, as much as I hate the Ottawa Senators, would be fantastic for them.
Exactly.
Fantastic for them. And those fans deserve a lot better than what they're getting.
Yeah, and from the people I talked to, most people that I've read about would prefer the 3 and the 5. They say that's a great value. So I think value-wise, you might be kind of equal. Me personally, I'd take the first. But if the New York Rangers can be swayed, I think it's good. It's a good chance. I could see it happening.
100%.
Okay, so I mean, we'll let that just simmer for the next 3 months until the draft, of course. In October. But we have our answers, so we got our closure, and now we move on to.
We'll see about that jersey. I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, lots left to be written here, but nonetheless, we move on to recapping what just transpired, which was the qualifying round. Before we get into things, I just want your initial reaction of what it was like watching hockey for the first time in so long. What you thought of the play? Was it competitive? Did you enjoy having no fans? How much did that detract from the experience? Just very quick thoughts on the game itself.
I'll start here just because I have a keen memory of this one thing. Like, Rangers and Carolina was played at 12 o'clock first day. And I watched that game. I thought it would be a background game. I thought I'd throw it on and be on my phone and dicking around. But the bodies were flying. The intensity was insane. And I was
Justin
texting
Williams dropping the gloves.
Yes.
Like,
and I was like, what? I was texting Nick, like, and I think you were at the cottage. You were at the cottage, and I was like, man, you are missing this shit so hard right now. There's bodies flying. Goals are being scored. Justin Williams' fight against Strome, I think, is like, what the hell's going on? And I thought to myself, there's no fucking layoff. The COVID layoff is baloney. These guys are ready to play, and this is playoffs. Bar none, period, it's playoffs. That was my first reaction, and I've watched probably more hockey than I have in any playoffs so far, really.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, my biggest fear was that it was just going to be like, sort of like you see hockey in September and early parts of October where it's sloppy and it's it's a game that you don't normally see later in the season, especially not when it comes to the playoff hockey. But to me, it wasn't like that at all. I thought that the product was pretty high quality. I thought that a lot of the teams were ready and prepared.
Yeah.
Some more than others, obviously. But other than that, it was exciting. Like, I mean, the first day, I think it was August 1st, the first play.
Yep.
I watched every single game that day.
Yeah.
And of teams that I don't normally watch, I mean, I watched the full Carolina Rangers series. I even watched the full Florida Islanders series. It was great, and I think the NHL has done a great job. Them and the NBA are like leaders right now in terms of how to deal with a sporting event during COVID. And this is something that the MLB and the NFL should definitely learn from. They've had another round of 0 positive tests, I think. It just came out today. The product's been great. Everyone's prepared. The one thing I will say is that obviously one of the big parts of playoff hockey is the fans. Like, I was just thinking, imagine that Leafs comeback in Game 4 in front of the ACC. The building would have blown up.
Right.
You miss that, and you miss, sort of when the momentum swings, the fans get into the game.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I thought the NHL, the product sort of distracted me from that. Like, I didn't even notice there was no fans. I was so focused on the game. So all in all, I'd give the NHL like a 9 out of 10. Like, they've done a great job, and especially as a league that always somehow manages to screw things up on a wide scale.
Yeah.
Like they're notorious for that. They did an excellent job. So full credit to Gary Bettman and the NHL and the players and the coaches.
Yeah, they've nailed it.
This has, without a doubt, been the single week in my life where I've consumed the most hockey ever.
Agreed.
This last 10 days, between just getting to watch the matinee games, the night games, in and out for certain games, I mean, it's been the most hockey I've consumed. I'm excited to talk about it just because, like, I've never been that usually the schedule is so weird. It's like you got a 7 o'clock game, like an 8 o'clock game, maybe like a 10 o'clock game, right? And now you're having like 5 games in a day. We had 6 elimination games in a day this past Friday. Like, that was sick.
Elimination
Friday. I was here at Kyle's like all day. It was Elimination Friday. It was awesome.
From 3 to 11.
Yeah, no, it was unbelievable, and the quality of play did not let up. The stars came out. The fans, to me, didn't track too much. I think they're doing a good job with the tech, putting in the not too much crowd noise or stuff after celebration, but enough.
Just enough.
Yeah, no, I've been extremely impressed. Like you said, NBA, NHL, I'd say is at the top. I'd probably say NHL probably number 1 for me. Yeah, can't applaud the return to play committee enough.
Agreed.
Okay, so moving on. We could do a whole episode about this next topic.
We sure could.
I think it's fitting that Joe's back here. The last time Joe was here, it was our State of the Leafs Union address. He had just been fired.
Right.
We were evaluating the
ago,
future of the team. We hadn't even seen Keith coach a game yet.
Right.
It was just we were just prognosticating what was to come, and we finally saw the Leaf season come to an end, an unceremonious end last night. or 2 nights ago. The Leafs fell 3-0 to the Columbus Blue Jackets in Game 5, the deciding 5th game of their qualifying round series. I want to go right to Joe on this one. I want to know everything. What was running through his head?
Everything at once.
Just
Go.
just what was, I want to know just initial thoughts, initial reactions. What was flowing through your head that game? You're the most passionate Leaf fan I know. Please divulge. What was going through your head?
So Nick, you know me, and you know I always defend the Leafs even when they're indefensible. Yeah. This was one of those moments where I finally lost the ability to defend them. When I was watching that game, so I guess context here, I guess, you know, this Game 5 is played in the shadow of Game 4, where they pulled off probably one of the greatest NHL playoff comebacks, I think, in the history of the league, or at least in Leafs franchise history. It's got to be. Right. And one of the most dramatic moments Leaf fans have experienced in recent memory. Mm-hmm. And to follow it up with a Game 5, and I'm going to call it a stinker, because it was a stinker,
right?
Was kind of disheartening to me. And you just feel like, you know, you've seen this movie so many times before. In Game 7 last year, Game 7 the year before. I'm obviously not going to count the Washington series because that was playing with house money. And even to the extent the first time they played Boston was also playing with house money. I thought that this Leafs team, this series, it's going to polarize Leaf fans, because now after this series, you're going to have 2 camps. You're going to have a camp on the left, obviously, that is going to support Kyle Dubas in anything that he does, and a camp on the right that's made up of Leaf fans who are upset with Dubas and think that this team is not built for quote-unquote playoff hockey. Well, what's playoff hockey? Playoff hockey, I guess, is to them being gritty, getting in the corners. I don't think the answer lies on the far left of the spectrum, and I don't think the answer lies on the far right of the spectrum. I think watching this Leafs team, the answer lies somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. To Dubas's credit, I understand that he had to go all in the speed and skill model this year. He has his coach. The defense is built to be a defense that's mobile and active. Mm-hmm. And he has a team that's built for speed and skill hockey. And he went all in with it. And this series was sort of a wake-up call to be that maybe going 100% in that direction doesn't work. Mm. And you know, for the record, I mean, I don't think the Leafs played absolutely horrible in this series. I mean, aside from obviously blowing that 3-goal lead was bad, but in terms of overall play, I felt that they carried the play most of the time. Their shooting percentage in that series was like a woeful 1.97%. Like, when does anyone ever I mean, even if they shot 5%, which is still garbage, they probably would have won that series. They faced incredible goaltending from Columbus. Mm-hmm. Korpisalo and Merzlikins both played fantastic. But I think that this series is a wake-up call to Kyle Dubas and being like, okay, the model that I had envisioned purely that way isn't going to work. We're going to have to find some answers on the back end, because if you had a defenseman playing that game 3, where they were up 3-0, that could play 30 minutes, they don't lose that game. And They probably win that series. So I think, like, there's a lot of ridiculousness on Leaf Twitter too. I think the biggest rivalry in the NHL is not Leafs and Habs or Leafs. It's Leaf fans versus Leaf fans. That's the biggest rivalry in the NHL right now. And I think there's got to be some balance. Obviously, no one's blowing up the core. Leaf fans think that, like, you know, they forget how bad the team was prior to Matthews and these guys coming here with Phaneuf and MacArthur and just a terrible team. The answer may be to move one of them. I think untouchables on the Leafs right now, to me, are Matthews, Morgan Rielly, who I have the utmost respect for, and I think played his ass off in that series, playing over 30 minutes a game. He was fantastic. Jake Muzzin and John Tavares. Other than that, I think the Leafs Kyle Dubas can make a trade for at least some defensive strategy. And you know what? I hate to quote Eugene Melnick, but maybe the Leafs did forget about defense. In building this team, maybe they did forget about defense. And yeah, that's my initial reaction after the game.
I want to give a quick reaction of how I viewed this series, because what's cool is each one of us watched probably every minute of this series. I can confidently probably say that. Yeah, I've made my opinion pretty known. I was cheering against the Leafs in this series. Now, I say that from a perspective of I've wanted change for a long time. I don't like the core. I don't like how this team is built, and I know if they have some mild success in this playoffs, I won't get the change that I desire. So I wanted them to be just crushed by Columbus, get the message out there that this doesn't work, And you know what? I wasn't super satisfied when they lost. There was a sour feeling, and Nick was there. I was like, you know what? I don't feel great about this. I see Jason Spezza with his head down, and I'm like, man, that guy came here with hope and passion for the team, and that sucks. Now, what I will say is from games 1 to 3, I was very impressed with how the Leafs played. I was like, you know what? Columbus is playing their game. They're doing all they can, but like the talent is so obviously on this side. And I was like, they're impressing me both defensively and how they're willing to run with this team. However, game 4, I thought they played a rotten game up until the last 6 or 7 minutes when they made that comeback. I thought, you know what, they're keeling over like dogs. This is terrible. I was so disappointed. I was like, this is awful. And then when they made that comeback, I was crushed. That was the most emotional I got. I was so disappointed they made that comeback because I knew the message isn't going to get through. They had that big celebration. Guys, you played like shit all game. You didn't deserve this win. It was a historic comeback. I hope this doesn't shadow what the real problem is. And then game 5 just played out like a slow symphony. It was like a slow violin. It was like, you know, they had that super line which had great chemistry and they had great moments, but they just couldn't get on the inside. And it was just kind of unsatisfying. What I wanted to happen happened, but I was unsatisfied, and I just hope that some change can come from this. And there were players that impressed me. Matthews really impressed me. Like what became apparent to me was that this guy's not even close. He's the best player on the team. Like when he had the puck, I was always scared. My heart was always racing. It doesn't matter, and he had his body going. Like he really impressed me. Some guys didn't.
Yeah, and I think to your point about Matthews, I completely agree with you. I think one of the criticisms of Austin Matthews that I've seen from some elements of Leafland is that he doesn't care. You know, you see him in the media, he doesn't care. That guy gave a shit, and
He
that
did.
guy wanted to win.
Yeah.
You could tell he was upset when they went down, and you could tell he brought it every single shift. And the only guys that I think that maybe matched Matthews' intensity were Morgan Rielly, who I've always had the utmost respect for, and John Tavares. John Tavares, I think, was snake-bitten this series. He had a lot
Agreed.
of chances. He probably could have scored way more.
Yep.
But I did not see that level of intensity from guys like Mitch Marner
No.
or William Nylander. And Nylander, to his effect, didn't even have a bad series. He scored a couple goals. A big goal in game 3 when he scored the power play goal. And he scored the first goal to lead the comeback in game 4. But without the puck, that's where Nylander is horrible. And I'm a staunch Nylander defender. I think he's an incredibly skilled player. But, man, when he was at center last night, he was exposed. He just seems like he doesn't care when he doesn't have the puck, and that's not conducive to winning playoff games.
Yeah.
And I understand why Leaf fans have that ire about him. I think the bigger concern for the Leafs is that, they didn't actually play that poorly defensively this series.
No.
They were not bad
I
at
don't
all.
think that was the problem.
No.
I really don't.
The glaring, people always talk about the defense. They did not play that bad defensively in this series. Where you really showed the inexperience was in game 3 when they're up 3-0 and Dermott decides to go for a pinch. Like that's where you need a defenseman that's going to play 30 minutes a night, other than Morgan Rielly, who's not going to do that.
Right.
And I also have full reason to believe that I feel like if Jake Muzzin was in that game, not to make excuses, that wouldn't have happened because he eats those minutes that Dermott plays. And watching Marincin and CC skate is just on its own, hard to watch sometimes.
Yeah.
There's a play where Rielly reversed the puck around the boards and CC fumbled with it. And I don't know if you saw Morgan Rielly's reaction where he literally was rolling his eyes. And I don't blame him. I mean, how do you not handle that pass?
Yeah.
And Marincin too. And not that Marincin played bad. It's just plays die on his stick. And in games where you need that momentum, you can't have that. Tyson Barrie, for all effect, was horrible. He did nothing.
Right. Didn't even really notice him.
Didn't notice him. And when you did notice him, he was getting beat by Pierre-Luc Dubois on that breakaway goal in Game 4.
Yeah.
And I was a big supporter of that trade at the time, but that's a series where you could have used someone like Nazem Kadri. And I love Naz. He'll always be a Leaf to me, always will be.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't even think Kerfoot played bad. It's just I would rather have someone like Kadri. I would have absolutely loved to see how Sheldon Keefe would have used Tavares, Matthews, and Kadri.
Crazy.
Yeah. And the one thing you can't fault about Sheldon Keefe is Leaf fans were clamoring for Matthews more ice time. He did that.
Yeah, no, he
Mike
played
Babcock's
a lot.
probably swearing at his TV when he saw that super line. You
Yeah.
know? I think Keefe is going to get the blame here, but some blame from Leaf fans. But I don't think he was the problem at all. He came into this halfway through the season. The Leafs were markedly better in almost every stat, offense and defensive, when he came. So he's not the problem. And Dubas too. I mean, like, I'm going to give Kyle Dubas one more year. That's what I'm going to give him. He has his coach now. He sees what's wrong with the team. Anyone can see what's wrong with the team. They don't have like a killer instinct, and they need guys that are going to bring that killer instinct. Like, obviously, you can't have everybody be a Tom Wilson or a Kyle Clifford. Mm-hmm. And you know me, I've always been into speed and skill, but you can't have that fully. It's apparent now that you can't have that fully in order to win a playoff series. And maybe I was wrong about that. But, it shows to me that you need a balanced lineup. And even the secondary scoring, where the hell was that in the playoffs?
Right.
Mikheyev, Kapanen, no one showed up. Kerfoot, no one showed up.
Yeah, and Kapanen had moments where he had blunders. Like, he'd be on a breakaway and something weird
And part of that
happen.
goal in the tying goal in Game 3 when they blew that lead was because Dermott can pinch, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're Kapanen, you have to recognize that and get back. He swept at the puck in the middle of the air, and that's not stopping anybody.
Yeah.
There's
one play where he was trying to chase down Dubois as well, when Dubois was coming down the wing. I thought Kapanen was one of the fastest guys in the league.
Yeah.
He can catch Dubois. I know Dubois is very quick, but...
And I think the thing that's frustrating for Leaf fans is, like, who the hell did you get outplayed by Texier and Wenberg? And,
right. Who are these guys?
And Bjorkstrand. Who the hell are they? You have John Tavares and Austin Matthews on your team, and Mitch Martin and William Nylander. Like that's the most frustrating part, because you're a better team than Columbus. They are a better team on paper than Columbus. Columbus may have stolen some games, but they're not a better team than the Maple Leafs by any means.
Right.
And even, this goes the same for Montreal and Pittsburgh. Montreal played great, to all credit. They played fantastic, but Pittsburgh is the better team.
Yeah.
And it's just more frustrating when you lose a game like that. If I was getting outscored by Kucherov and Stamkos and Hedman, I'd be like, okay, these guys are highly skilled players, some of the best in the league, but come on, guys.
Yeah.
Pierre-Luc Dubois is good, but he's not that good.
Right. That's what makes it worse. Like, if you lost to a Tampa or even a Pittsburgh, we wouldn't be having these harsh conversations. We'd be like, you know what? Well, veteran talent, Crosby, Malkin, championship pedigree. But I called this the biggest talent disparity in all of the play-in series. I said that on the show, I think, last time. Yeah, and there was no real excuse to lose this, and that's what happened. So. We'll grab Nick's take.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up talent disparity, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd 100% agree with that, because let's not forget, Columbus did have the best top unit defensively in the whole NHL, arguably.
Top defense.
Yeah, the top pairing, and they carried it, and Seth Jones was only on for one goal the whole series.
That guy
that's
is a
outstanding.
fucking monster, by the way.
That's outstanding. And so I don't know if it's as much a talent disparity. I just think I want to go back to what Kyle said. That fourth game, the comeback, to me, it just screamed of fool's gold.
Right.
You grab onto this sort of. You think it's something good, you grab a hold of it, you want to hug it, you want to carry it with you. That's what the Leafs had after that Game 4. We saw them celebrating in the tunnel after. We were rolling our eyes the whole time. And then what do you see in Game 5? Columbus plays that same game. They smarten up. They don't have Elvis letting in, like having a stroke at the end of the game. They have Korpisalo, and he puts up his second shutout of the series. There's no defensive blunders at the end of the game. To me, it was more an educational experience. This is how you win in the playoffs. 100% buy-in from each and every player on your team. Maybe not the most talented. Maybe your first line's not getting paid $34 million. Maybe not. But everyone bought in. Like, everyone bought into the Torts message. And that, to me, is what the Leafs have to do. They have to buy into a more defensive system, and the buy-in's got to be 100%. And I didn't see that. In Game 2, I saw that. Game 2 was awesome because they were controlling the play in the O-zone. They were always back checking. Even Nick Robertson, I thought, looked really good in that game too. But it was unsustainable, and they gotta learn to buy into a defensive system. So yes, improve the defense. Yes, improve the personnel, but the buy-in's got to be there, and I think they learned that from Columbus.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those series where it's like a true reckoning moment, because you can chalk up the Washington loss to youth and inexperience, the Boston loss to youth and inexperience, And Game 7 last year against Boston and this series, Game 7 last year might have been the tipping point where it's like, okay, we need a coaching change because Mike Babcock's not going to carry us there. This series is the wake-up call for, like, we need a system overhaul.
Yeah, the construction,
like, you can't win a series just relying on offense. And I agree, the comeback in large part, that'll never happen again.
No.
That is fool's gold. You're right. It was a great moment to watch for a Leaf fan. And I thought that, if anything, the Leafs were going to build off that and be like, look what we can do when we finally play our game and play talented. I mean, the best example of the Leafs buying in, you're right, was Game 2. Game 2 and for 45 minutes of Game 3. When they had that 3-0 lead. That is when they played. If they play that way every single night, they're one of the best teams in the NHL.
Yeah.
The problem is, like Kyle Dubas himself said, this team is Jekyll and Hyde. And that's what's so frustrating about the Maple Leafs, where one night you look at them like, this is a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup. These guys are incredibly offensively skilled. Their defense might not have the best personnel, but they buy into a system. And then the next night, they're up 3-0 and give up a 3-goal lead, and it's like they don't give a shit. That is the most frustrating part as a Leaf fan. The inconsistency that this team brings is extremely frustrating. They fall asleep for 10 minutes, and next thing you know, the game is tied. And that's what they did in Game 3. That was the series right there.
That's when they lost the series.
When they blew that lead, I said to my dad, I turned to him, and that's the series. The series is done. There's nothing they can do. Even if they win Game 4, there's nothing they can do to come back to that because I know this team. I know the way they operate. And it's just, even when you look at Game 5 in and of itself, the Leafs carried the play for the most part.
Sure.
And Columbus scored 2 terrible goals. And we'll get to Freddie Anderson in a minute. I want to ask you as a goalie what you think about Freddie Anderson. That's another big thing.
Yeah.
And I guess we can get into what changes the Leafs should make. But in that Game 5, I thought the Leafs carried the play. That Tavares goal goes in. It's a 1-1 game. The first play, that's a different game. But also, that's the playoffs. Like, crappy goals go in. You're not always going to get chances, right? And the Leafs have to learn that. They can't. It seems that when they get down, there's some form of adversity, aside from some sort of fool's gold comeback. And the vast majority of the body of work I've seen, when they go down, it seems like they lose feeling in the game. There's guys that bring it. Tavares brings it. Matthews brings it. Morgan Raleigh played his ass off. Yeah. But there's just some body language I see from Marner and Nylander that it pisses you off as a Leaf fan because you're like, you guys are getting paid this money. You held out, and you held out, Willie. Both of you assholes held out. Marner, score me a goal, or he didn't get a single primary point the entire series. That's inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Yeah. I think this is it. People have been clamoring it for the past. Trade one of the wingers, the young wingers, Marner and Nylander, and I think this was the final sign. This is the final nail in the coffin. It's got to happen. They didn't win the lottery just now. That would have been an easy fix because then you could easily flip one of them. Right. You're not taking a loss because Laff replaces them, and you get a defenseman. You sign an FA defenseman and you make a trade. Yeah. But it's not going to be that easy anymore, as we saw just now. So with COVID, of course, the cap now, flat cap. Yeah. So that only makes Dubas's job tougher. So I think given the context of COVID, given this loss, I would be shocked if we don't start play in January or November, whatever the start date is, in Nylander and Marner are on the team. I would be shocked.
Agreed. You named a quote-unquote core of this Leafs that you wouldn't trade as Matthews, Riley, Muzzin, and Tavares.
Correct.
Nick, who would you include on that list?
That's the exact list I'd include. I think,
and with the exception of obviously like guys like Robertson and Sandy.
Sure.
I would.
We're talking the major guys.
Yeah. No, I would not be rushing to flip Robertson or Sandin, but I'd say of those guys who've already developed, Jake Muzzin's unmovable. He just brings too much. We saw that with the loss and how much that impacted them. Having to ask Cody Ceci to play all those minutes and Marty Marinson to step in, that was just sad. That was just pitiful to watch. Watching the play break up when Ceci had the puck, or how, that's not what he is. Yeah. Cody, that's not what he is. Like the Columbus D would just back off when Ceci had the puck, like basically ignoring him and playing everybody else. It was pretty shocking. So sorry about that. We got the pizza on the way. Asking too much of those defensemen was sad. Justin Hall was okay, but maybe playing too many minutes.
Yeah, Hall to me is like, again, he's also Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. There's some nights where you look at him and be like, wow, this guy's great. And then sometimes with the puck and without the puck, like he's throwing up, pizzas through his own zone. Yeah. He's just not the type of guy you can rely on for those amount of minutes. And at first you think, because that's the problem with Dubas' strategy. It's it's apparent it's that like we're just going to plug and play defensemen. Well, that doesn't work. You know, it simply does not work. And I believed in that for a while, but after this playoff series and the body of work that I've seen, it's just clearly not a sustainable way to play hockey, especially in the postseason. In terms of the defense next year, remember, there's going to be big spots because Cece's gone, Barry's gone. So right now, their defensemen...
So Sandin's got to play every game.
Yeah, so you're going to have holes. So, you have Riley. There's going to be a hole beside Riley. They're going to have to fill that. Muzzin, and I'm assuming they're going to extend some sort of RFA offer to Dermott because I don't think he was a problem in this series.
For sure.
I don't think he was a problem in this series.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Sandin and another hole at the bottom there. Do you fill that with Liljegren? Who do you fill that with, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. Sandin and Liljegren will be huge. We've been hearing that for years, how they're going to have to take advantage of their low cap hit for both those guys. So that'll be critical. They'll have to step in, and it's just going to kind of be a committee.
And of the forward group, like I said, outside of Matthews and Tavares, I would not be counting on the fact that you'll be a Toronto Maple Leaf next year.
Right. So
I mean, guys like Kapanen, Janssen, Nylander, even Mitch Marner, they're all expendable.
They're all on the block.
And
it's funny.
You know who I forgot that we should add to that core? A noted person, Zach Hyman. Zach Hyman will stay with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Ah, good one.
I hope so. Yeah. They need more guys like Zach Hyman.
They do. I mean, he scored the tying goal, didn't he?
And he brings he might not be the most skilled player because he isn't. He might not be the most talented player, but what he brings to the table is every night I know what I'm getting out of Zach Hyman.
Exactly.
He's not going to be inconsistent. He's not going to be bad. The offense doesn't die in the stick. It's good, and those players are great. So you need people like Zach Hyman on the team, and I think I think he should be included in that core where I wouldn't move him.
You know what I thought? Like the skilled, and I thought Tavares was great. I thought Matthews was great. The one problem I thought I had with them was they were great, but they were sort of perimeter.
Mm-hmm.
They had a hard
and
time
credit
getting...
to and Columbus's defense.
Exactly.
Yep.
So Columbus knew that maybe they couldn't contain those guys, but they could keep them outside. Hopefully.
Agreed.
Where was I? And you know what? The guys that I didn't like, you can't be paying Marner, McKinnon money.
No.
And get a Marner performance.
Exactly.
You know, I can't see Marner bringing that kind of. But then again, you can't trade him. You can't trade him easily because of that contract.
Yeah, and I think Nylander is a way more movable contract, and credit to Cal Dubas for getting him at that price.
Yeah.
Nylander's a 30-goal scorer. For what is he? But 6.9, something like that. That's an easy contract to move. No, it's not that bad.
It's not too bad.
And there are teams like Nashville that need more offense that I think Nylander would be a good fit for, or even some team like St. Louis, which I would love to. But I think you obviously get more with Marner. It's just, who the hell's going to take on that fucking contract?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the thing, right?
But I mean, you saw the series. Now, how valuable would a Seth Jones type be on this team?
If there's a Seth Jones in that lineup, and even if you take out someone like Nylander or Marner, the Leafs still win that series.
Now, let me ask you a tough question, because I know where your allegiances lie. If Columbus were to pose you a trade of Riley for Jones, what's your initial reaction to that? Because that's got to be something you consider.
I think Seth Jones is a better defender than Morgan Riley, so I'd probably take it.
You would take that?
Yeah, one for one. Columbus would never do it, but
I would take that as well.
I would take that. Yeah. Morgan Riley's a great, a high, Morgan Riley's a number 2 defenseman, number 1 maybe, but I would definitely take Seth Jones for the defensive part of his game. It's just better than Morgan Riley as it is.
So do you think this will lead to change?
Yeah, it has to.
Or do you think it's going to be minor, or do you think Dubas is willing to shake up some of the big boys?
I think he's willing to shake up some of the big... At this point, I mean, his job is on the line. Like, there's no question about it. His job is on the line this year.
Yeah.
If they don't get out of the first round in the next season, he's done. And who knows? It could be the end of Shanahan's tenure with the Leafs. It could be the end of Keith's. Right?
Shanahan had a sour look on his face.
Yeah, he was upset. And I think someone's talking to him saying, listen, this is not the way we're going to win, so you're going to have to change things. I think there's going to be major changes coming. I would bet that one of Nylander or Marner won't be in a Leafs uniform next year. And I know it's a pretty hot take, but I think that's what it will be.
Nick? Yeah. What we said when you were gone, it goes without saying, Marner makes McKinnon money, and you're not getting Nathan McKinnon player.
No, you're not.
Don't defend this.
No, I won't defend it.
In you.
But of the two, I still think Marner's the more desirable asset. I still think like
between him and Nylander.
yeah,
Okay.
I still do. Maybe not worth the extra 3-point whatever he's making.
Like contract aside, you're saying?
Yeah, contract aside, he's the more desirable option.
Fair
so
enough.
it's going to come down to what matters more: the more desirable guy who clearly has good chemistry with Tavares. Like Tavares and Nylander don't have the same magic Tavares and Marner have. Like that's magic. You got to hold on to those duos in this league. You just do. Like he carries Tavares at certain times. I've said that in the past. But his playoff production is just brutal. Like between this playoff run, Marner, and last playoff run, man, he can't play in the big games.
I got to bring something up too. You mentioned the big games. I heard Joe Bowen on TSN say today that Freddie Anderson was 0-8 in do or die series. What do you make of this goalie? Like, I always thought Freddie Anderson was one of the good goalies, like one of the top 10 goalies in the league. I always had kind of faith in him. When you bring that up, it's like, man. And then you kind of flash the Liam Foudy goal, and it's like, is this an issue, or are you okay with this goalie moving forward?
Right. So Joe prefaced this. He wanted my thoughts. I've always been a Freddie defender. I've always had his back. I think he's well above an above average NHL goalie. I'd probably put him somewhere, teams aside, whatever, the defense you play behind aside, I think he's a top 25% goaltender in the league. I do, always have. And I wanted to defend him here tonight. I did. But man, you can't give up that goal to Liam Foudy. That it's those big games. Like I don't care how you perform in any 82 game season. We all know the Leafs are going to make the playoffs. I don't care if you can make the average saves. Those game-stopping saves, like that Korpisalo stop on, I think it was Andreas Janssen.
Yeah.
The when he just the
Burst
one-timer.
yep.
This beautiful save.
Matthews made a good stop on.
He's got to make those He's got to make enough of those game-breaking saves, and he's got to save the ones he's got to have. And that Liam Foudy one, I felt it just spelt disaster because one goal in that kind of game was an uphill battle. Mm-hmm. 2 goals, it was just enough. It was enough. Like you can't come back.
I agree. I think the problem with Freddie is sometimes, especially in these big games, he lets in that one back-breaking goal where they can't come back from. And he did the same thing against Boston in Game 7 last year, where I think it was Achari that scored to make it 3-1, I believe it was. I mean, that goal just deflated them. You could see the bench. They were deflated after that goal, and you can't have that. I think Freddie Anderson is a terrific regular season going, although not this year. He has worse years than Maple Leaf. But the thing is, if you're the Leafs, you have no one in the organization, no backup goalie that's as good as him, so you're forced to keep him at least for the remainder of the contract. And you can't even say that the defense didn't even play that badly in front of him this year in terms of the playoffs. So Freddie didn't lose them this series. It wasn't Freddie's fault that they lost the series. But, I mean, you can't win by scoring no goals. But in Game 1, for example, that Cam Atkinson goal should not have gone in.
Right. Fair.
The goal from what's his name? It was Foudy that scored. That should not have gone in.
The 5-hole.
And even in Game 4, that Gavrikov goal should not have gone in either. So there
call.
are moments where it's just like, Freddie, what are you doing? I agree with you. I think Freddie's a top 15 goaltender in the NHL when he's on his game. Probably more. I want to see Freddie with a number 1 defenseman in front of him before we get rid of him. And I think the Leafs will ride out his contract. I think you can't get rid of him at this point.
Pietrangelo.
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I think they need to do. When you look at the teams that manage their goaltending the best in the league, it's like Columbus. When you have a tandem.
Yeah.
When you spread out the cap, so $2 million to one guy, $2 million to the other guy, create some internal competition, fight for starts. I know it's not sexy for us fantasy guys who want our one guy to ride and get those 70 starts, but in practical NHL, day-to-day, coaches want to win every game scenario, I think that's the only way to go. And you see it with, exactly, Islanders, Varlamov and Greiss, or even Colorado had it going with Frank Hughes and Grubauer. Those tandems, it's the best way to manage a team. You can't make someone feel like they're self-entitled and they're going to get every start even when they have a shitty game. And that's what they've done with Freddie. The worst-case scenario would be to ride Freddie out with his contract and keep giving him the same amount of starts and then pay him and then it's time to renew his contract and he gets like 6.5. Like that would be the worst-case scenario. You create internal competition. You sign or you trade for some kind of veteran netminder who's had playoff experience next year, and you keep bouncing back between them. I'm not sure Jack Campbell's that kind of guy who can push Freddie. I love the guy. I love his character. Love the guy. But I don't know if he can push Freddie enough. I think you need like a veteran guy come in, push Freddie, and then make it sound like, hey, Freddie, like you might not even be the starter on this team if this guy outperforms you. Sure. You might not even have a contract on this team if this guy outperforms you. Like, create sweat, make him fearful, and go from there. I think both cap-wise, that's the best move, and performance-wise, it's going to be the best move.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think one of the big problems with the Leafs this year is you saw that they had no confidence in any of their backup netminders, from Hutchinson, who was awful, to Sparks the year before. They have never had someone who can push Freddie. The closest one that ever did was McElhinney.
Yes.
Who was awesome.
Yeah.
And I think it was a Dubas mistake letting him go.
Mm-hmm.
But I completely agree with you. I don't know if Jack Campbell is that guy, although the starts we've seen Jack Campbell play, he's been fantastic. He's been impressive. Yeah. And he seems to be a great guy in the locker room. And I think that even if they don't sign another goaltender and they keep Jack Campbell, as long as you know that on the second night of a back-to-back, I can throw Jack Campbell in there, or if, like, for example, I feel confident, even on a Monday night, I can throw Jack Campbell in there, that might give Freddie some sort of extra, oomph behind him, right? Because I agree with you. I think he just feels that in the net is his right now, and there's no one that's going to challenge him. This is my net, and this is my crease. But at the end of the day, I mean, he obviously has not shown up in the games where they need him the most. And he's made some fantastic saves in this series. He has. And the series loss is not on Freddie. This is not a Freddie loss. The series before in Boston wasn't on Freddie, the loss. But that Game 7, those crucial back-breaking goals he lets in sometimes in those big games, and you can't have that. If you want to have sustained playoff success, you can't have that. And that's got to be along on the list with the number one defenseman and maybe some more quote-unquote grit for the team. They're going to need to look for a veteran backup goaltender, someone that can push him,
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the veteran goalie, but I know they have a really good rookie goalie coming in. I don't remember his name. Joseph Wall. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what if he starts getting
young?
some
I don't know,
traction?
Kyle. I think the youngster is the way to go. Goalies, they take a very long time to develop. You're seeing that with a guy like Spencer Knight in Florida.
Well,
he's not even going to play in the NHL for another 2 years.
What about a Carter Hart? Carter Hart.
That's a generational talent that the Leafs don't have. This Wall he's not that. He's not that. Hart's like they're claiming is going to be the next price. So I think it's got to be a veteran guy, and you got to have that playoff experience too, right? So maybe the young guy does push him in the regular season, but in the playoffs, do you want to have do you want to pitch the ball to pass the ball along to some youngster? I don't know. I think you need the veteran. So. Again, I don't want to make it sound like goaltending's their number one issue. It's not. It's far from the overwhelming issue. But it's at the bottom of that to-do list.
It's creeping up there.
It's creeping up there for sure, and especially when you see those Liam Foudy goals sneak by. It's not pretty. So that's what I'd say about their goaltending.
That was a bad change, but you got to stop that.
You have to stop that, yeah.
That's not a goal that can go in a playoff game, a 1-0 playoff game, and an elimination game. It just simply can't.
No.
Same with the Achara goal the year before. You can't put that in the net. It's not right. Looking back at that trade between Colorado and the Leafs with Barrie and Kadri over, a lot of Leaf fans criticize Jake Gardiner, and who I love Jake Gardiner. I always have. I think Leaf fans would be begging for Jake Gardiner back over Tyson Barrie. At least Jake Gardiner was semi-competent defensively. And I was disappointed because I thought Barrie was coming here. He was 7th in scoring for defensemen, I think, the year before when he came here. And I was like, okay, we're going to have 2 of the top 10 scoring defensemen on the team. Little did I know that he wasn't competent defensively at all. Like, I don't know if anyone's watched any Colorado games before, but he looked okay. I don't know what Babcock did to him or someone put it in his head that he can't play defense because he was just – there wasn't even moments where I'm like, okay, this guy's good. Like, he just looked horrible all year. And that's another thing that's – this Leaf season was so weird. You had the Babcock era come to an end on that 6-game losing streak. Keefe came, they played fantastic on that winter break. And then after the winter break, it seemed like they were winning 2 games and then losing big time another 2 games. You had the David Ayres moment. It was such an odd – and then COVID and the pandemic. It was such an odd, weird season for the Maple Leafs. There's no consistency at all. Oh. Which is why, I mean, people are calling for Dubas and Keefe's head. Guys, let's see a full year with these guys because they played better under Keefe. That the facts are there. They played better under Keefe.
Good record.
Even in the playoffs, they played better under Keefe. Babcock would never have put those 6 guys in the ice with 3 empty net goals in that comeback. He just wouldn't have done it. That's just not who he was.
No.
He is a better coach than Babcock. That's a fact. At least for this team, he is. I want to see a full year of Dubas and Keefe, but I want to see marked change from Kyle Dubas. As a Leaf fan, I'm saying to Kyle Dubas right now, you've had your fun. You've seen your way of doing things. All your way isn't going to work. All speed and skill is not going to work. Get me some defense. Get me a little bit of grit. I'm not saying Ryan Reeves. Yeah. I'm saying guys in the mold of Zach Hyman. Guys that work hard, guys that will get into the corners, guys that will battle for those pucks, And I'm not even saying guys like Kyle Clifford. I'm saying guys that are decently skilled but can get in the corners and grit. Like someone like a guy like Brandon Gallagher, obviously that's a high-end guy like that, but someone who has the mentality like Brandon Gallagher, even like Paul Byron. Those guys battle. They have heart.
Like guys who are like, my career depends on me fucking working my ass off.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the big...
all of Columbus.
Yeah.
Exactly. All of them.
All of them, exactly.
Nick Foligno is not that talented.
No, he's not. The Leafs need more guys like that. They need more guys like that, and he doesn't want to admit it, Dubas, but he needs guys like that. That's the only way you're ever going to win in this league.
And no more excuses. I mean, you got your coach. You fired Babcock. He got the coach.
Yeah.
We talked about it.
30 minutes a night.
9 months ago, we were like, he's now got the coach. Now we see what happens.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the coach got the saddle and couldn't even get through the first round. So, and I'm not going to dive too deep into his mistakes. I mean, I thought the Andreas Janssen thing was wacky.
Yeah, I didn't
You're inviting some guy to play for the first time in 5 months.
Yeah, I didn't agree with
Instead of Nick Robertson. I know Nick Robertson had that fall in Game 4, which led to the thing. But other than that, I thought he brought a spark. Yeah. He would always back checking.
He was a spark plug.
He was he had an energy that other guys lacked.
Yep.
And you just need that. And I didn't get that decision.
He was working his ass off.
That's what he wanted. He's like, I want to belong here, and I was working my ass off. Yeah, he made that one mistake, but he fell down. That happens. I can say the same thing about Tavares shooting that puck in overtime.
Sure.
When he hit, Dubois' skate.
Sure.
Robertson was great. I don't understand why he dressed Andreas Janssen, who wasn't, frankly, having that good of a season prior to him getting injured. I mean, I would have kept Robertson in. I mean, maybe on that breakaway goal, if Robertson's there where he was stopped, maybe Robertson has a little extra jolt because he hasn't been playing, and maybe he slides one past, Korpisalo, because he also got a great shot, Robertson. I was impressed by him.
Yeah.
He made certain young mistakes, but I was impressed by Nick Robertson.
Yeah.
I thought he was good.
Agreed.
I thought he was a good player, and I think, guys like that are important for the Leafs because it realized that, oh shit, we can still score from other areas in our team. We don't need to have this mess of high-paid forwards where we don't address any other part of our team. Like, even guys like Mikheyev, who you can probably get back, although he had a horrible playoff series. I don't know what the hell happened to him.
Very unnoticeable.
Very unnoticeable.
All-Star training camp.
All-Star training camp, but
where the
horrible.
fuck did that
what
go?
the fuck happened? Yeah.
God damn it.
God, I know. If only he fucking actually played in the playoffs. But no, I think I would. He was having a great season before that injury. He really came on. Like, I thought he was a big forward. He grinded for the puck. I thought he was good. I would keep him on the team too, and I would have Robertson back next year. But like I said, guys like Kapanen, Janssen, Nylander, Marner, be careful because I don't know if all of you will be back next year.
Right.
Because some of them will be gone. He's going to have to do it. Those are the culprits. And that's not even to say that Kapanen had a bad playoffs. I mean, well, listen, there were some times, you're right, where he looked like he was a blunder, but I could live with parting ways with Kapanen in a draft pick for someone to, even if it's Kapanen for someone who's going to play with Sandin on the bottom pair that I can trust. Yeah. That'll kill penalties. And again, I can live with parting with one of Nylander or Marner. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Nylander's a more tradable contract. But I can live with if I'm trading Marner, though, you need to get a number one. Like, we're talking in the realm of someone, like, obviously Nashville wouldn't do this, but I'm talking like a Roman Josi type player. Like, obviously you're not going to get him, but you need a number one solidified NHL defenseman that is going to play 30 minutes a night for Marner. Yeah. For Nylander, I think, like I said, I think Nashville is a probable trading partner. That's a hot take for me. Nice. I think they have a surplus of defense in Nashville, and I think they need scoring, as we saw in the Arizona series. And I think that could be a potential landing spot for one of them, at least. It's just a Marner contract is really hard to trade. And I think one of the most comparable players to Marner is Sebastian Aho. And look what Aho's done with every single playoff chance he's gotten. I think that guy is a point per game in the playoffs.
He's been, he
guy
was
makes
fucking
less
awesome
money than
this
Marner.
year.
He was absolutely awesome. He undressed that Trump-supporting right-wing asshole.
Oh, I fucking hate that
Tony
guy.
D'Angelo, that loser. He put his funeral on that right-wing loser. He put him on he just absolutely undressed him, which was great. Him and Brendan Lemieux, that stupid podcast. I was so happy to see fucking Tony D'Angelo get undressed by Sebastian Aho. And that's like I was saying before, I love Carolina. I think if the Leafs want to look at a model to build, look at Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great mix of speed and skill, but that third line they have will grind you down, and they will play well. And their defense, too, they focused on defense. Jacob Slavin is incredible.
Some are calling for the Norris on that one.
He's an incredible player.
Yeah.
I love him. Even guys like Pesci, I love him too.
Yeah.
I love what Carolina has done, and I love the way they're coached. And and they also have a goaltending tandem.
Yeah.
And James Reimer, who I love.
Right.
I've always loved James Reimer.
Played great.
If it was one hockey player that I'd love to have a beer with, it would be James Reimer. He just
Right.
seems like the nicest, genuine guy in the world.
Yeah.
And Jake Gardner's on that team too. So again, Carolina is the model Leafs. Look at, they have speed and skill, but they also have invested in their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to dummy Boston. That's my hot take. I think they're going to dummy them.
Well, we'll get right into that if we're finished with the Leafs. What do you think, Kyle? Any final words?
Let me think on that one. Okay, one more question for Joe. One more, kind of silly, kind of stupid, but it's something I noticed. Do you make anything of the wacky fashion statements that Marner and Matthews, and the wacky hat, just the silliness? Or do you think it should have been kept professional? This is playoffs.
No, I love it. Anything that pisses off Don Cherry and hockey fans over 50 years old, I love.
Fair enough. Yeah, I didn't have any take either way.
I tweeted Kyle something last night. It was all the teams that have foregone the suit and tie dress code and have worn the tracksuits.
Yeah,
3 for 3: Columbus, Arizona, and St. Louis.
Okay, you remember that meme someone sent us with the Marner hat?
Yeah, the Marner hat.
Was that actually real? Was that Photoshop?
No. Oh no, that was real. He wore that hat.
I don't like that.
He wore that hat. Yeah.
So after a win, he's sitting in the interview with this fucking random ass fucking sick hat, and I'm like, man, what are you fucking trying to say here? You guys are walking away with the series. That's, to me, that sends a statement wrong way. But
yeah.
Maybe I'm old school on that take.
I'll show Joe that meme over the break. But I think with that said, we'll conclude the Leaf talk.
Right.
I think we all agree change should be done. Change is coming.
And I'm excited. I want to be able to wear a Leafs jersey again, I want to cheer for this team. I really do.
And just one more comment. I just want to say, I know it's all doom and gloom for Leaf fans right now, but I've tweeted this out. And by the way, Rink Moose has not followed me back on Twitter, even though I've been a staunch follower.
No way!
Your tweets.
What, you follow?
I've been neglected by Rink Moose. I just want to point that out.
Oh my God, I missed that one.
But what I was gonna say is that Leaf fans have to remember that organizational progress is not an upward line. There's going to be times where it's going to be a dip. It's not going to be a consistent make the playoffs, third round, we win the Stanley Cup. There's going to be dips and there's going to be, up and downs. It took Washington how many tries before they finally beat Pittsburgh and finally made it to the Cup? This team has greatness in it. The answer is in that room somewhere. They just need a bit of retooling. And that's my final thoughts on Leafs. I think that Leaf fans panicking, saying trade everyone, start another rebuild are ridiculous. Because you and I know as Leaf fans how bad it was when there was the Phaneuf on the team and they had Fraser McLaren and Mark Fraser's playing defense. Cody Franzen. Oh my God, they had no first-round draft picks. Joe Colborne was in the pipeline.
Fucking love Colborne.
And we know how bad it was. But this team has greatness in it. They just have to play a style that's not too far one way, and I think they'll be fine. And I think Leaf fans have to be patient. And I know it's hard because we haven't won the Cup since fucking 1967. And after every playoff game, you're thinking, oh shit, I might die before they actually win a trophy.
Right.
The Cubs waited 100 years and they did it.
Guys, listen, I want for next year, playoff time comes, COVID's gone, the team is a little bit different attitude, and we all go to Leaf Square.
Yes.
And we fucking party
Let's do it.
I swear to God, I want that to happen so bad.
I would love that.
And I think it's possible now. Because of this loss,
Yeah.
I think it's possible now. I really do.
Sure, get drunk in the underground parking lots like usual.
Tell
and then
Joe.
roll up.
Tell
yeah,
Joe.
that's what we do every time. This guy's the best at finding low key underground parking spots and just finding a corner and getting wasted.
So we
and
bring
then
a bunch
walking
of beer to Leaf Square. You can't bring it in.
Of course, yeah.
So where do you drink it? Not on the street. So you go to a parking lot, staircase, bottom of the staircase. God knows how many homeless people have been there, but we just pounded 4 beers each. And then we took to Leaf Square. It was amazing.
You know what I think actually would be a great idea? I think, usually the past 2 years I've hosted the Leafs home opener at one of my places in Kingston. I think
Mm-hmm.
you should come up to Kingston because the season's going to be in sometime in December or January to start. Come up for the Leafs home opener. We'll watch the game together, and we'll have a nice Kingston night. We'll go to Trinity, the Brass. I think that's something we should consider doing.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we can do like our third State of the Leafs address. Yeah. This was part 2.
Yeah,
we'll let the off season play out. Let Dubas do his work,
I think that would
and then we'll do our part 3.
Mix in a Kingston game.
Of course. No, sounds like a solid weekend. Mm-hmm. So, with that said, we conclude the first hour of the show. The Leaf Roundtable Part 2, and when we get back in a few seconds here, we will get into the other series and what the hell happened there. So stay with us, and we'll be right back. So just leave her run. Okay, cool. All right, welcome back.
Chet, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. All right, welcome back to episode 13, season 2, episode 13 of the Rink Moose Podcast. We just concluded our Leaf Roundtable, and now we're moving on to the other teams. So fans and other teams can
The other teams?
What other teams? There are 22 different other teams, so
I guess
we got to jump into those. So without further ado, I think Joe was the one who brought up the Carolina Hurricanes. So
wow.
Of course, the Canes were the first team to eliminate another team, the New York Rangers, the newly crowned Alexis Lafreniere.
Oh.
New York Rangers.
You fucking flash me back. Come on, man.
Anyways,
Don't flash me like that.
It was a.
We just talked about Tony DeAngelo being a dickhead.
Right.
And now you're doing this.
Right. So, short 3-game sweep. No real drama. They kind of went out with a whimper, the Rangers. But what could you expect with such a dominant force in Carolina? That's what it looked like to me. I was just so impressed with the D-depth. Aho, Svechnikov, even their like fourth liners like Martinuk. Like I just love so many of these guys. They're fantastic. So why don't you elaborate on why this is a threat, this team, and why you ultimately have them as your dark horse to win the cup?
Yeah, I just think Carolina is built in a way that they can adapt to the style of the other team that they're playing. Whereas with the Leafs and teams like Edmonton, you know what you're getting. You're getting a team that's incredibly skilled offensively, but they can't play defense, and that might play into the hands of teams like Boston or Columbus or someone like a Minnesota. But the Hurricanes can go toe-to-toe with you in any style of play. If they play a game like they play at the Islanders where they want to grind them down, they have grinders on that team. If they play a high offensively skilled team, they have the defense to stop them. And Mrazek and Reimer, as long as they're somewhat competent, they'll always give them a chance to win. So I think just the top-end skill that they have in the Aho, Teravainen, and Svechnikov, the defensive depth that they have, combined with, the grinding that they have, it just makes them so adaptable. And I just think that is a very dangerous team. There's not one team in the East right now that says, I want to play Carolina in the next round. And they just, they dummied the Rangers. It wasn't even close. There was no point in that series where I'm like, the Rangers are carrying the play they deserve to win. Not even close. Although the one thing that I thought was very sad, I'm a big Henrik Lundqvist guy. I love him.
Yeah, that was it.
I think he's the world's most beautiful man, first of all.
Agreed.
He's got fantastic hair. I think everyone wishes we had that kind of hair. Well, maybe Nick does, but we'll see one day. But I think that that might be like the last time that he plays a game for the New York Rangers or in the NHL alone because they have two studs in net, and I think it was just one of the most, in terms of play, one of the most mismatched series that I watched.
Yeah, again, this was the series where I was so impressed physically, but
Kyle picked Rangers, by the way.
I did pick. Well, I did. I picked Rangers, and I don't know. It was more of a hunch. And Steve Dangle actually picked Rangers as well on the show. Yeah. So he picked Rangers. It was more of a hunch, but again, Rangers came out, as Brian Burke said, looking for a boxing match, and Carolina came out looking for a hockey game. But the cool thing is Carolina could roll with the punches and still play their game. So they didn't get bogged down by what was, to me, early on the most physical series of the playoffs, which was really cool. And this isn't a team with elite so-called goaltending. Mrazek doesn't blow you away. James Reimer in his past 2 or 3 years hasn't blown you away. It just goes to show the defense is that stout. And let's talk about Andrei Svechnikov. This guy, he's going to be one of the best players in the NHL sooner or later. Like, this
He's on
guy's
that
got all the
trajectory,
skill in the world. And then Aho is just a very complete two-way centerman. You don't hear too much about them. It's Carolina after all. Like, you're not going to get the big headlines, but wow, what a draft lottery win that was at number 2. There's even rumblings that this guy maybe should have been number 1. I know it's early, but like, this guy, like, what more do you want
number
from
1 in that year?
Dahlin?
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
listen, Dahlin's a great defenseman.
Exactly.
No doubt he's going to be. I mean, as long
Yeah.
as Buffalo doesn't buffalo him, but I mean,
oh my God, I'm scared.
I mean, no, Aho is terrific, and I think like he is an example of a playoff performer. That guy comes to play. I mean, when he scored that goal, that just obviously put the Rangers out of their misery. Like, I was so impressed.
Oh,
Like, they're just such
clutch.
clutch and just an impressive team. Like,
Yeah.
the way they control the puck on the power play and their breakouts and just everything about them, it's really fun. They're fun to watch too, because
Yep.
they're teams that are good, but you don't want to watch them play. Like, I don't want to watch the New York Islanders play hockey, which we'll get to in the next series. I have some thoughts on the Islanders, but
Good.
you know, you don't want them to play. You don't want to watch them play hockey. The Canes, I will tune in to watch play hockey, and I am happy that they're playing Boston, because we'll talk about Boston after, I'm sure, but they look awful.
They do.
And as long as Carolina doesn't underestimate them, I think they're going to dummy them.
Right. One more thing I have to say is we got to pay mention to the leadership on this team. Like, there are few better leaders than Justin Williams, Mr. Game 7, who in the first fucking 10 minutes got into a fight. Like, I'm not saying he's got the skills he once had. I'm not saying he's still going to put in 2 goals in a Game 7, but he garners a respect, and people really look up to that. And Rod Brindamore is a player's coach. It just seems to me like those guys will rally around this guy. So you have a lot of momentum emotionally and with systems, and they have a lot of intangibles going towards them, and they've got the skill to back it up. Like, they're a scary, complete package.
And you know what? One element I underestimated them was the goaltending. Like, that was one thing we tossed around. We didn't trust the goaltending. I never trusted Mrazek, but he looked awesome in the series. Awesome. I don't know what he did over the COVID break, what practice he had, but he looked in great shape. I was.
Well, isn't this your example of having a playoff tandem, where they're another successful team that has not necessarily like a 1A, 1B, but where you're not afraid to turn it to the backup if you have to? Because Reimer played Game 3.
And he played great.
And he made an amazing save. And that just, like, I almost brought a tear to my eye, because, like I said, I love James Reimer, and I was so sad at his tenure in Toronto when he left, and I always thought he was better than Jonathan Bernier, which we've now come to know as a fact.
I agree.
You know, and like, I just think that, like, that is an example of a playoff tandem where you can, at least as long as they play competent, because they are competent goalies, they'll be fine.
Yeah, like I was shocked to see them go to Reimer, but then I was like, you know what? It's a back-to-back. They have faith. He's showing faith going with his guy, and he ends up pitching like a 1-goal game, right? So, yeah, no, it was awesome. And that's
confidence.
Yeah, it sealed the deal for me. This team has confidence in their own guys. They have respect for each other. Brindamore can just roll with whatever goalie he wants, and I was like, when I saw the goalies play the series, I was like, this team's almost flawless. Like, I just and you were talking about Jake Gardner earlier. I heard when they get Hamilton and Pesce back, Hamilton more sooner than Pesce, but when they come back, I heard Gardner. It's such a deep defense. Gardner might be the odd man out.
Wow.
Good God.
Yeah, I mean, if Jake Gardner, for all his flaws, is still a pretty good defenseman. I liked him on the Leafs. I didn't want to see him go, and frankly, for the fact they're paying Barry, they could have just paid Jake Gardner and kept Nazem Kadri at the end of the day. Like, how bad? Like, think about that. If you actually think about that, but you know, that's the thing that, like, other teams have to look for when they look at Carolina, because they are built so balanced, and like I said, they're dangerous. Like, they're, you know, once Hamilton and Pesce gets back, like, they're a legitimate threat to win the Stanley Cup. Like, I think a legitimate threat, as long as their goaltending holds up.
And I as a big Blues fan, I was a big fan of Joel Edmondson's. When he was traded from St. Louis, I was a little heartbroken, but he seems to have found a new home. He fits in right there with Brady Skay, which was another guy they traded for. So that is their 5-6. What a competent 5-6. Like, yeah, exactly. So I just top to bottom can't say enough good things about him. We obviously got to move on, but that's our take on Carolina. Go ahead, Kyle.
And they have Toronto's pick.
And they right. So it's pick number 13. And Kyle and I, like, who've been studying this draft meticulously, like, there's a ton of, like, there's some good defensemen who could go in that range. Like, I threw Caden Gooley.
You could get a Holloway.
Well, they're not drafting a forward. I'm just saying Leafs could have Caden Gooley.
Oh, Leafs, okay.
Who is a future bona fide top 4D.
Yeah.
Maybe top 2.
Oh, my God, they need a Caden Gooley.
Yeah.
But that the 13th pick, that was an unfortunate set of circumstances. To quote Lou Lamoriello, because Lou Lamoriello handcuffed the Leafs with that Marlowe contract, and Dubas had no choice but to get rid of him if he was ever going to make room to sign any of the players. So, just to defend Dubas on that.
And that's a great segue, Joe. You're the awesome. No, not the Islander series. The Penguins series. Okay. Patrick Marleau will not be going home with the Stanley Cup, and we don't know what the future of him holds because he had a brutal series. Yeah. So, anyways, I love him, but our next conversation shifts to 4-game series between Montreal and Pittsburgh. This one Kyle was going to be the most locked into. I'll let him lead off here, but needless to say, the facts are Montreal won the series 3-1. Carey Price, pitched a gem, seems to be back in playoff form, and they even got some contributions from the old rookies and the youngsters. So, Kyle, why don't you take this away here?
So, Joe, you'll look around here, and you'll see there's some Penguins jerseys, and there might be even more than Montreal jerseys. This was my original team. Pittsburgh was my OG. This is how I got into hockey, and I was so split on this series. I was more watching for fun, which was great for me. I didn't really care who won.
So Pittsburgh's your team.
Pittsburgh
You're
was
a Penguins fan.
Pittsburgh was my yes, they're my team. They were my first team. Now Montreal is also my team. Now I was very, very, very disappointed in Pittsburgh's.
Yeah, it's
it's
hurting my eyes.
In Pittsburgh's effort in this series, and you go back to last series with New York Islanders where they got swept, and I talked to Nick about this, and it's like what we decided. We talked about it. The Pittsburgh Penguins have gone stale, like an old bread. You need a little bit of youth injected into your lineup to get some excitement. All they do is trade away their first rounders, and they get veteran talent, and the roster looks great on paper. Yeah. You get a Marleau, that's great, but you don't have a Kirby Dach on Chicago.
Nope.
You don't have excitement like an Adam Boakfist on Chicago.
Sure.
They're very comparable teams. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You need this fresh I get it. The core is man, we've done this, man. Yeah. Are we really going to have to battle bust our nuts to get through Montreal?
And that Chicago comparison is great because you saw two teams that know how to win, and they obviously been there to dance before. Yeah. And one team coming over the other, and they were playing obviously two separate opponents. Look, what I saw from Pittsburgh in that series was deplorable.
Yeah.
I don't understand with all that they're honestly very, very paralleled to the Leafs, except in the Leafs defense at least they're still young.
Right.
Pittsburgh just did not show up in this series, and I hate Montreal, but full credit to them. They worked their asses off. And yes, if you want to talk about who carried the vast majority of play, it was the Pittsburgh Penguins. But in that elimination game, Montreal should have won that game from the second period. They were the better team in the elimination game. I thought that Pittsburgh just didn't work hard enough. It didn't seem like they wanted it.
Yeah.
People's talking about blaming Matt Murray. It's not Matt Murray's fault. No one worked.
The goalies were average.
And where the hell was Gino Malkin?
No, he didn't show up.
It's like
how did he not show up?
It was just
God damn. And Tanger didn't show up either.
And I think that Pittsburgh desperately needed Alexis Lafreniere to win this draft because if they won that draft lottery, you're looking at so many promise fifth, an injection of youth, a high-skilled youth player. I just don't know if that core of Pittsburgh can ever do it again. I just think that they might be spent. Jack Johnson is probably one of the worst defensemen who he's one of my roommates is a Pens fan, and he cannot stand him. And you know what? Full credit to Montreal. Give credit where credit's due. They played well. They grinded them down. They didn't, even that game when they were down 3-1, they didn't, break. They came back. Carey Price, and I've always said this, Carey Price, when he's on his game, is the best goaltender in the world. Even to this day, when he is calm and on his game, he's the best goaltender in the world, and he really, really showed. So, obviously a series that no one expected that to happen, but that's the beauty of playoff hockey, and it's exciting to see at least another Canadian team go through. As much as I don't like them, I think they're going to have their hands full with Philadelphia because this is a team that looks fantastic, as I'm sure we'll touch on later on. But full credit to the Habs, and I think I agree with you. I think the Pens core is just stale, and they've just done it before, and they're just not. There's no youth in that lineup where it's like, except for Marino. I thought John Marie played well. He was awesome.
He's great.
I thought he was awesome. I thought he had a good showing. That's someone that the Leafs could use, but. I think the core itself is. I just think they're done with. They're just done. Like you said, stale and gone like a piece of bread.
Two things. One, what impressed me most about Montreal is that Carey Price did not steal the series.
Nope.
They earned the series. Carey Price was great, but they didn't. He didn't steal it. He didn't need to.
Nope.
The other thing is that. What was I gonna say? You go, Nick.
I'll go with my two things.
Yeah.
I disagree subtly. I think he really kept them in that game one, and things could have got out of hand quick in that game one. The Habs arguably couldn't have won that game. And then the game three, I turned to the Pierre Maguire TSN turning point. This is what he coined a moment in the game. It was 3-1 Pittsburgh, game three. Crosby's coming in with Gensel on a 2-on-1. Crosby makes a nifty backhand feed to Gensel, leads him on a breakaway, and Price goes into butterfly, stacks the pad, covers up the puck, makes a brilliant save to not keep it 3-1, not keep it from going 4-1. What happens right after that? Claude Julien changes his lines, breaks up the top line of Deneau, Tatar, and who's the final guy? Gallagher breaks up the line, spread out the wealth, and what do you know? They quickly score 3-3, and then of course the Petrie goal to win the game 4-3. So two things. I think that turning point, if the game's 4-1 there, I don't know what they do. So I think that could have been the point of the series, like the Leafs, where the Leafs lost the series when they came back and blew that 3-goal lead. I think that could have been a moment if they score there to make it 4-1, where it's too much of a hole to climb out of for the Habs. And then secondly, I just think, like, as much as we want to shit on Pittsburgh, I think we just got to give a ton of credit to Montreal. And I know you're going to have a hard time doing that, but Claude Julien...
I said full credit for credit's due, man.
Claude Julien outcoached Steve Sullivan. And I was so happy to see Mike Sullivan. Who's Steve Sullivan?
I don't know. I recognize it.
So anyways, so Mike Sullivan got out coached by Claude Julien, which is a great story because one guy's won 2 cups very recently, and the other guy hasn't won a cup since
17?
Yeah. No, like early, like I guess with Boston when they beat Vancouver. Julien.
2011.
Yeah. So like it's almost like an aging coach, and then you have like the new guy in town who's winning all the recent cups, and I think that whole juggling with the first line, trusting guys like Kotkaniemi and giving him up minutes, trusting Suzuki, giving him more minutes. I just think he managed his team extremely well, and I just think the old guy outcoached Mike Sullivan.
Yeah, I agree. I think Nick Suzuki is going to be a stud in this league. He's going to be great. The thing about Montreal is when you look at them is that, again, they're very similar to the Blue Jackets, where it's like there's a couple of people that might stand out in this team, and they don't have anyone with the capacity of Seth Jones or Zach Werenski, but they're just a bunch of players that are there, and Julien's making the most of what he has. And it's just such an impressive victory because it's like they had no business, first of all, obviously being in the playoffs, and secondly, competing with Pittsburgh. This was the biggest mismatch in the playoffs in terms of talent, like pure talent. There is no one on Montreal that is even close to it. I don't even know if there's anyone on Montreal that's even better than Jake Gensel right now.
That's fair.
You know?
That's fair.
Right? And they have a defense core that's outside of Weber and Petrie, who turned out to be great. Victor Mete, they're okay, but they're not good, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just a very, very, very impressive series from Montreal. And I don't know how that would have played out over 7 games. You know, a 5-game series is a lot different than a 7-game series, especially against a veteran, tough opponent like Pittsburgh. But in this play-on tournament, hey, you know what? Like, there's no asterisks here, man. They're there to play, and they beat them. And, like I said, you say it's going to be hard for me to give credit to Montreal, but I from the get-go, and you can ask anybody, I have said that, they deserve to win that series. Like, they played very, very well, and all credit to them. I think they're going to get smacked by Philadelphia, but all credit to them.
I remembered what I was going to say. I was going to say that when we were previewing the series, I said Pittsburgh has all the pressure, 100% of it. Montreal's there with found money. They're just walking in. The questions we now ask of Pittsburgh is they got swept last year. They lost to Montreal, the worst seed this year.
And the year before that, knocked out in round 2 to Washington.
Sure. The conversation is now, can Crosby, Malkin, and Letang still do this? Are we now seeing the end of Pittsburgh's era of a decade of amazing hockey and perennial cup contenders? They were always in the running. I don't have confidence in them anymore.
Wow.
Like me, like I had them.
For you, that says a lot, yeah.
I was confident in them this year. I was confident in them last year. I can't put fucking money on these guys anymore. Not until like I just can't. This core, I mean, Crosby's 33.
The farm system's weak.
It's weak. It's the weakest in the league.
Yeah.
It might be the weakest in the league.
You trade Kalen Addison, a nice young-looking defenseman who's ready to break in Minnesota. It's not good.
Jim Rutherford has run this team so that they can be good for so
during
long.
The prime of Crosby and Malkin.
But it always catches up to you. The age catches up to you, and the trading your first-round picks catches up to you, and now it's kind of compounding. Thank God they have a top. Well, if they still have their first round, I'm not even sure. But thank God they have a top 15.
And sometimes it's just time to. Sometimes it's time to just pass the torch, right? They've won 3 cups in the last 10 years,
and there's no one to pass it to.
There's no one to pass it to. Like sometimes you just wipe your hands clean and go, "That was it, boys." Like we can't run it back anymore. For the sanctity of this franchise and to start rebuilding the farm system, we just got to stop.
It's sad, but I think we're starting to see that.
Yeah.
Does Crosby ever leave Pittsburgh?
No.
He never leaves Pittsburgh?
I don't think so.
You don't think any one of Malkin or Letang leaves Pittsburgh either?
I think those two maybe, but Crosby.
Because a team could use Letang.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of teams that can use Letang.
He was very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. He got outplayed by
here's an interesting scenario. As a Pens fan, we talked about the Leafs having young stars. Would you take someone like William Nylander and like a second-round pick for Chris Letang? Given the state of the Penguins now?
God.
They need number one defenseman, the Leafs, and Pittsburgh obviously needs a youthful injection.
Honestly, you know why I would say no. 2 reasons. I don't like William Nylander, and 2, like you don't have a puck mover in the same caliber as Letang on the number 1 power play. Justin Schultz was terrible.
Yes,
I fucking hate Justin Schultz.
He had a good year. Like he was okay.
He had a good year.
Edmonton could have used someone like Justin.
We had our new friend Rudy, who was like, he's never watched hockey before, and I was like, Rudy, watch this Justin Schultz character. He's fucking trash. Every time he touched the puck, he fucked up, and I'm like, Rudy, see this? He's
Are there any starting defensemen in the league that's worse than Jack Johnson was in that playoff series? Like
exactly. And
is
there
anybody who is worse than him?
It's brutal.
And that's why I mentioned the out-coaching thing. He kept putting Johnson out there, and it nipped them in the ass.
I don't know why he kept putting him out. That made no sense.
And then the goaltending blunder, right? He should have pulled Matt Murray earlier in the series, probably when the Habs mounted that comeback and made it 3-3 before he was in for that Petrie goal.
I don't blame Matt Murray for anything though. Like I think he was okay.
He was okay. Yeah, he wasn't again with Freddie. It's not the reason they lost.
Average.
It's not the reason they
exactly.
lost, but it's still concerning. And I've heard a lot of people say he may have played his last game in a Pittsburgh uniform. Do you agree with that sentiment? He's an RFA.
I do.
And Jari's the guy, right?
Because Jari has been so good, and I know that Matt Murray demands a high price.
Yeah.
He does. He'd be good on the trade market, and he'd be high value contract-wise. So you have to.
I think there's merit to that. He may have played his last game.
Maybe a solid number 2 for a team that needs a number 2 to push their number 1.
Yeah, or a shitty team like Detroit could use him as a number 1. Yeah. They could absolutely use a guy like that. He's young.
Imagine playing in Detroit next year. Oh,
he's young and he's won. Teams would clamor for that.
Yeah,
they really would. And maybe he just needs a change of scenery. So.
Yeah, no, it'll be like with the Leafs. It'll be an interesting offseason, a long, interesting offseason. We'll see what they look like.
It's disappointing.
Come training camp.
It's really disappointing.
The final E series. This one will be interesting because I got some takes. Sounds like you got some takes. Was the Islanders in Florida. I want to approach this from both teams' perspectives because I think there's a lot of interest here. With Florida, I want to just pull up a little something here.
You're looking at Bobrovsky stats?
No. So no, there was some
That
like
is so disappointing.
like there was a piece on The Athletic. It was kind of like a summative article on like the qualifying round,
How
and they
can
were
anyone be a Florida fan?
well, no, they were talking about the teams that were kicked out and what it means for them, right?
Right.
So this guy Scott Burnside wrote about Florida, and I just think this was very well put. He says, "Was there a team among the 7 play-in round losers that accomplished less than the Panthers? Nope. Even the Rangers, swept by Carolina, earned valuable experience and are a team trending in the right direction. Florida, not so much. If anything, the timid manner in which the Panthers were dispatched by the Islanders reinforced that you can't buy success in the aisles of free agent marketplace. Sergei Bobrovsky, Anton Stralman, Brian Boyle, Brett Connolly, Nola Chari, even head coach Joel Quenneville, all of whom were signed unhired in the offseason, could not create a meaningful identity for a team that is in the epitome of aimless. This franchise has failed to develop enough homegrown talent. Of the players in the lineup for Game 4, only one, depth defenseman Riley Stillman, was drafted after Aaron Beckblad, who was drafted first overall in 2014. Successful teams grow up and develop and coalesce together. As the Panthers headed home with the future of GM Dale Talon up in the air, they revealed this week just how far they have to go to get there."
Wow.
So what a take, and I thought a lot of good points there. So to me, it sounds like young Nick playing NHL like 14, where I don't develop guys, I don't draft players, I trade away all my draft picks, I just get a bunch of stars. In free agency, I sign a bunch of stars. So it's just a bunch of old developed guys who are good overalls now, but won't look good in 5 years. That's like me, and Florida's like me as a young Nick playing NHL 12.
Yeah,
you know. So that's how I summarize them. I love how he put it. You cannot buy championships in this league, and that's what this team tried to do. The owner Vinny Viola tried to do that, and even you pay this coach to come in and try to fix this problem, and not even he can do it. The most winningest coach in NHL history or whatever he is. So I just thought that was interesting. And then the other perspective is, say what you want about the Islanders, say what you want about boring hockey, but I respect the shit out of this team. They showed me so much. I don't watch the Islanders a lot, but as I said, I watched a lot of hockey this past week. I watched all those games, those noon games. I was so impressed with guys like Anthony Beauvillier. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the whole league.
Wow.
I think he's like top 10 underrated player in the league. I think like that feisty, quick French Canadian. I just love that. I love that mold. JG Pajot looks like he fits in like a glove now. Not only is he their ping pong champ, but he's also the champ on the ice. He was great. And even guys like Ryan Pulock on defense. I just loved seeing him break up plays in the defensive zone, seeing him rip that shot in the offensive zone. I was enamored by this team. The goaltending was good enough. I think Varlamov was just good enough. Nothing crazy there. And I'm just
What about the sauce doctor?
Eberle was the sauce. He was teaching me how to do saucer passes in December, and he's like, "Nick, the professor of saucer passes is
Matthew
Barzal." That guy, man, that feed he sent over to who was it? Was it Beauvillier? No,
it was
the
Beauvillier.
2-on-1. It was Beauvillier.
Yeah,
what a pass! Eberle was great as well. I think he had his playoff success continues to go, Mr. Clutch.
Yeah.
I think I'm curious to see what you say, Joe, but I think people are overlooking this team. I think Barry Trotz is going to come with a force to beat his old team, the Caps, and I'm enamored with them, and I'm so glad I put some money on them. I'm really happy I'm seeing that return on investment here.
So a couple things.
He doesn't like this. I could tell. I could tell. I know.
I think so. With respect to, I guess we're going to do both perspectives here. With respect to Florida, they're a mess. Like, I don't know where you go from here. You have a goalie that can't perform in the playoffs, and for that matter, the regular season, locked up for X amount of money for a certain amount of years, and that's terrible. You have, I think, a great first line in Huberdeau, Barkov, and Evgeny Dadonov. You have a defense core that's not very good. The rest of the team that's not very good. They just don't have a direction, Florida, and I think that's a problem. I don't know if they're rebuilding or not, and this is the most dangerous part to get in because as a Leaf fan, I've seen this before where you have a couple of good players, but the rest of the team can't build, and then you just end up – you'd rather finish in last place than 10th every year. That's how I view it, right? And I think Florida's on that trend. So now with respect to the Islanders,
Let me hear it.
I don't like the way they play hockey. I don't like this old dead era trap, like boomer, like just the way they play is just so frustrating and annoying. And look, I think there's a tremendous amount of talent in that team. Like you said, Beauvillier, excellent player. Matthew Barzal, excellent player. Eberle's good too. Yeah, I just think
the fourth line, Suzuki.
Oh my god!
It's
my
amazing.
God. Listen,
It's amazing.
Teams like the Islanders will wow you in the first and second round, but at the end of the day, you got to score more than 2 goals to win.
Yep.
And on a team like Florida that might be easy to do because they're absolutely. You thought the Leafs were bad in their own zone. Watch Florida play defensively. Watch how bad their defensive coverage is from the defense and forwards alike. So this is going to be a real test against Washington. Having said that, they did sweep Pittsburgh the year before. However, Washington is not Pittsburgh. Washington is a much better team than Pittsburgh. I'm sorry to say they are. Washington's a better team than Pittsburgh, and I want to see how they handle that Backstrom and Ovechkin line and Tom Wilson coming at them. Braden Holtby's a fantastic goalie as well, so it's going to be tough for them. I take nothing away from the success that the Islanders have had in the playoffs because as a Leaf fan, that's more than what I can say. But I don't think their type of hockey is sustainable. I think the Islanders are the victim of being on the other side of that spectrum that I talked about, where there's the left side, which is all speed and skill, and the right side, which is all defensive hockey. I don't think they've struck a perfect balance yet. I think they're too much a defensive trap team, and I think that a team like Washington will exploit them. And I think like one of their worst matchups would be to play a team like Philadelphia that would just expose them.
Yeah.
You know, because if they go down 2-3-0, they're done. Because Washington, unlike the Leafs, is not blowing a 3-0 lead.
There's not much more I can add to this. Florida, gutless, heartless effort.
A team with no direction.
Out of all teams,
Aimless.
I didn't see any less effort than I did from Florida. Like
Went out with a
everyone
whimper.
else seemed to battle hard, whether it was physically or anything else. That was just so disappointing. Like
They were just happy to go back to Florida.
like a flat pancake. It was
at their beach house.
exactly, which is exactly why, and consider like compound that with the Bobrovsky situation, where that laugh would have been the worst possible landing spot with that team.
Oh,
Horrible. So that was that. Exactly. So Florida's terrible. I love Huberto, but Florida's terrible. Islanders, what we said was that look at the center depth. Barzal, you got Pajot on the third and Brock Nelson on the second. Amazing. Really, really solid buy-in kind of guys. Barzal can run that top line, get some spark offense.
And then Cizikas is the fourth.
And Cizikas is the four, which is like you got everything you need. You got the tools. You have the resources to make a really, really good forward group. And now mix in Lee, mix in Eberle with some skill, Beauvillier with some skill. I have a lot of faith in this forward group. The goalies, I mean, they got the best goalie coach in the league, right?
Yep. Mitch
They
Horn.
absolutely
Mitch
do.
Korn. Yep.
Mitch Korn.
Yeah,
Korn.
So
So
I don't know, to be honest. I just know it's Mitch Korn.
And I
yeah, great.
I mean, I think that they can play some sort of like a Columbus type game, but you have this kind of you have a little bit of skill in there. Like you have like Barzal is, in my opinion, one of the top 10 most pure skill. He's technically the fastest all-star game player in the league. Pure skill guys in the league. He can make a spark here and there. Like you can shut it down, make a spark with Eberle.
Yeah.
You know? Like just spark the. I have a lot of faith in this team. I could see them doing some serious damage. Washington will face a tough challenge.
Well, we'll get there, but I will concede the point to Joe. Like I thought they were pretty good, like cycling the puck in the Florida zone, like generating offense. Like I wasn't bored watching them. I wasn't. But that's a great point you mentioned. It is Florida they were doing that against.
Fair.
Like who has the worst defensive coverage in the league next to like Chicago probably. So like you think of that, how sustainable will that be against Washington who has seriously great defense? So it's going to be interesting, and that's a good point you mentioned. So we'll get into that series preview shortly, but I've said my piece, and we'll get to it in a few minutes here. But before we do that and predict the next round, let's recap the West. We'll start off with Vancouver, Minnesota.
Okay.
This was an interesting one. These were late games. Hard to watch all of them, but I did watch quite a few. I was pumped when I'm a big Minnesota guy. I always was. I loved their style.
You love the structure.
I love that's why I like Islanders. I like the structured, boring teams. I just do. If I was a hockey coach, that's how I'd coach. It is. But no.
Oh.
And I thought they played a perfect game one. I picked Vancouver to win the series, and I was regretting it instantly. I was like, oh man, like I just betrayed my team.
You picked them?
I picked Vancouver.
But you had money on Minnesota.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so yeah, I like to hedge my bets kind of like that. Yeah. But no, I think just the star power and the explosiveness of Vancouver was too much for them. I think Quinn Hughes had an amazing series. You look at his point totals. The guy put up points in like every game, and him and Pettersson have this great dynamic.
Fuck Quinn Hughes.
No, he's great.
I don't know. I thought he was awesome. I thought guys like JT Miller stepped up great. Besser, Horvat.
Love Besser.
I mean, it's the stars came out, whereas Minnesota has no stars, and that's why
star.
Even he was quiet, and that's why I hoped in a way they got laughed today, so they could have a star, but they didn't get him. Stalock was really good. He showed me a lot. I thought he was shit, but he was really impressive. They did not lose because of Stalock. I'll tell you that much. It was just they were outskilled. So why don't you tee this off?
Yeah, actually, this series I paid a lot of attention to because I'm always in a consistent fight with my friends over what wins hockey games, speed and skill, or pure defense. And this was probably another series with like the Leafs and Columbus, where you have two very contrasting styles. Vancouver plays with speed and skill, and Minnesota plays a structured defensive game, like you said. So first of all, just to touch on Minnesota, I like Minnesota because I love Matt Dumba. First of all, I thought his speech was amazing that day, and I think like he's a great ambassador for the game, and especially with Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. So all power to him. He's fantastic, and I think what he's doing is really important for the game of hockey. I will say though that I wanted Vancouver to win this series because they just remind me as a Leaf fan. They remind me so much of the Leafs because they're a very similar team to the Leafs, albeit with worse goaltending.
Oh man,
Markstrom is not.
He was not that great.
He wasn't that good. No.
That
But it's an example of a series where the stars showed up. Quinn Hughes showed up. Brock Besser showed up. JT Miller was great. Pettersson was great. They were all great, and they won that series for them. And I just thought it was great watching Vancouver skill. Vancouver's an exciting team to watch. I like them. Obviously, I don't think they'll do very much damage because I still think they're pretty weak on the back end other than Quinn Hughes, and I don't think Markstrom is good enough to win them a Stanley Cup. But I will say that there's a lot of good things going on in Vancouver, and that was just a series, you're right, of them being outskilled. Minnesota did not have the work ethic like Columbus did in the Leafs series. The Vancouver Canucks just outskilled them, plain and simple. And that's sort of a blueprint where I think if you're a Leaf fan, you should look and be like, well, Vancouver did it, and this is their first time in a play-in series, which is kind of, a slap in the face to Leaf fans where it's like, you guys have talent like that and above and a better goaltender. You couldn't beat a similar team to Columbus because they play very similar styles of play, right? So I thought it was just very, very interesting to see the contrast between the two. But happy Vancouver won, and going forward, I wish them nothing but the best. So
it's amazing. It's incredible you say it like that because in my notes right here, I have exactly these words: Vancouver parallel to Toronto.
Yeah,
exactly those words, and you said it. Like you have the core of Pettersson, Horvat, Besser, and Hughes. And they showed up. Like everyone had their moments and everyone had their clutch plays. Now my main question was, did Vancouver push it over the top, or was Minnesota not as good as Columbus's effort? I think maybe it's probably a bit of both. But like you said, I really like the Vancouver core, not only for their skill, but I think they're a really good cast of characters. I think they're really headed in the right direction. The JT Miller in the dressing room announcing the starting lineup, that guy's a great guy.
That fired me up.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, let's go, man. Like, that's great. They've done a great job. Markstrom wasn't amazing in this series, but he could be really good. He had a really great regular season.
Yeah.
And, they're a wild card for me. Like, I think they could quietly be a very good do some damage team this series. I mean, in the next couple series.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They're definitely a fun team. So
and we haven't seen Pettersson like really crack.
No, he wasn't in
know?
that series. You're right.
He was
You're right.
good.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He
but we
wasn't
haven't
what
seen
I've
him
heard.
crack.
I've heard it, like Vancouver fans who watch every game. They just talk
Exactly.
so much about him. I haven't seen that yet.
Exactly.
I hope I see it next round. I'll be tuning in every game there. So
And they're gonna need him. They're gonna
Yeah.
need him to be like sublime skill
Yeah.
Pettersson kind of thing.
and just to change the subject here really quickly for us Wild fans, it looks like one of the best Wild ever, Mikko Koivu, has played his final game.
Oh,
Maybe 17 years with the.
Wow.
He might be retired. Well, we don't know yet, but it looks that way. So if he does retire, his
He's still the captain, isn't he?
his career will end with him ranking first in first in games, first in assists, first in points, first in plus minus, first in shots, first in power play assists, first in power play points, first in shorthanded assists, first in shorthanded points,
Jesus
first in shifts, total minutes of ice time, shootout goals, face-offs. I mean, you almost forget this guy's done so much for this franchise. They don't have a Hall of Famer, this franchise. They've kind of had a weird history, not very long, but no real sustained success. So it'll be sad to see him go, but I just need to give a shout-out there to Mikko Koivu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
I didn't know he had all those
Yeah.
accolades.
I'm glad I educated you there.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So moving on to the other Canadian teams, we had an all-Canadian matchup between the Jets
so
and
sad.
the
Yeah.
the Flames. And I think that's the best way to sum it up. Just a sad series.
Sad.
Something that had all the making of being a classic 5-game Canadian series.
And it was
And
done
just
in 5
we
minutes.
didn't get that because it was done minutes into that first
Yeah.
period. So why don't you elaborate what the hell happened there, Kyle?
It was so funny. Not funny, but like just strange because
Mike Milbury saying
No, I had my new friend. Like he's never watched hockey. His name is Rudy, and we just flipped onto the Winnipeg series. I'm like, Rudy, listen. With Winnipeg, you got to look out for this Scheifele guy. He's a great player. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds later, Scheifele's rolling on the ice in pain, agonizing, like just ridiculous. And I'm
Dirty
like,
hit, yes or no?
Honestly, I think no,
Yeah, I agree with you.
but
I thought
I
yes,
mean,
but then I rewatched the tape a couple of times.
yeah,
and I don't know if it was any intent
it's
there.
too hard to pull that off.
The only reason why you say it, yes, is because it's Matthew Tkachuk.
Exactly.
And that's it. If it was anybody else in that team, or it was Giordano or
Yeah.
Mangiapane, you wouldn't,
And Burke had a horrible take on
Oh.
the call. He's like, "Oh, Matthew Tkachuk, he's not a dirty player. He would
Wow.
never do something like."
Well,
like,
he is a
come
dirty
on.
player. Yeah,
He's the dirty
well-
player of the league. He's the guy you think of when
Well,
you
that's why
think
they
of
pay Brian
dirty
Burke the
player.
big bucks, right, for analysis like that.
Oh my God. So honest to God, like that happened, and then Laine went out, and you knew it was done.
Yeah.
Okay, not even that. Scheifele goes out, and I told Rudy again, new fan, they're done.
Poor
It's
Rudy.
over. The series is over. I definitely had Winnipeg winning.
Yeah. So
But you lose your number one center, and you have a problem at center depth. You're done.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah. That series.
They can't catch a break, man. They lose Trouba. They lose everybody.
Perot got hurt.
They lose
somewhere,
Myers.
yeah, it was just-
It's just.
It was unfortunate for Winnipeg because I
Yeah.
thought they could have beaten Calgary. I don't think Calgary's a particularly good hockey team.
No, I have no faith.
I have
in
no
them at
faith
all.
in them either. I was upset to see Scheifele go because he's, for my money, one of the best centers in the entire National Hockey League. But to Winnipeg's credit, the fact that they won a game is incredible.
Yeah, that was great.
Incredible.
That was great.
Like it's incredible that they found to win a game. Like that's heart and effort. That's all that is because they had no talent on that ice at that point.
No,
You know?
God, no.
This also is not good for Calgary because they might be feeling okay now they won a series, but they're just going to get dummied in the next round.
Agreed.
They didn't face any
Agreed.
adversity.
Agreed.
Winnipeg was missing their two best players. You got one of the best goal scorers in the league, one of the best centers in the league gone.
Andrew
The defense
Kopp was their
depleted.
number one
Oh,
center.
Yeah, and it just that's not Winnipeg like who
No.
they played. So
Gosh.
Paul Maurice and the Winnipeg Jets can't take any fault for that series. That's not their fault. It was unfortunate because I thought that I had that series pegged as a series that was going 5 games,
To
hands
watch.
down.
Yeah.
To watch 5 games, that was going to go to an overtime. Patrick Laine or Mark Scheifele winner in overtime, and it's unfortunate that we were robbed of that as hockey fans. I just think that Calgary is like I said, like they had no adversity this series. They're going to get their heads handed to them in the next round.
Agreed.
I think that this is just not good for the
I'm
Flames
on
at
board
all.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and I'm hard on the guy, but I think Gaudreau as your number one skilled player is a bad solution to your
that
problems.
Would be like having Marner as your only skilled player.
Exactly.
And that's not going to win you anything.
And I don't even think he's as good as Marner.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
So
Well, hey, we'll get into the predictions a little later, but I mean, a lot of people would argue that Calgary got handed the best matchup in the next round, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If you look at the other West-seeded teams, St. Louis, Colorado, and who's the other one?
Dallas.
No, Dallas, but then there's a fourth one.
Oh, Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. Of those, of those four, you'd most rather play Dallas. So we'll get into that. I've read some other takes, but yeah. Okay, moving on. The other Canadian team. This one Kyle had his eye on. This was one of his 3 must-watch series, and I'm just going to preface this with this. This is awesome.
No way. Do you have the clip?
What clip?
Okay, good. Never mind.
What clip are you alluding to?
Nothing.
Okay. Well, anyways, I
showed the clip to some other people.
I got some news for the audience. Basically, Kyle, I'm at the cottage. He sends me a picture of EA Sports and Connor McDavid's hoisting the Stanley Cup. He was EA Sports' prediction to win the cup. And Kyle goes, "Me and NHL 20 are on the exact same page. And considering my house flooded the same day Rogers Place did, this will come true." Explain the story to Joe here.
So, Joe, literally, this area here and this area here started raining down with water. Not even kidding. I was playing Last of Us 2, and it started raining down with water.
Great
and
game.
Like, we'll get into that. Maybe we'll get into that. Yeah.
That's a great game.
Not yet. But that happened, and that exact same night, I'm rolling through Twitter after we've dealt with this mess, which almost ruined the house, and I find out Rogers Place has been flooded. So I'm like, oh my god, there's something going on here. There's like a parallel here. I feel like I have some sort of voodoo magic. Yeah. And then I told you about I trust in the stars, the Colby Cave emotional draw. You know, they've got the defense, which is not great, but like competent goalies, hopefully. And I had a good feeling, you know, like you can't just pick the best team. Like, obviously, they're not going to win. So I had a good feeling. And then it blew up in my face. It did.
It did, yeah.
It did. God damn it.
So I watched every single game of this series, partly because I can't stand the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. And I knew it was going to be high scoring, so I like hockey like that. People give, as a Leaf fan, the Leafs defense crap. That Edmonton Oilers defense is putrid. Oh. They are horrific. There is not one defenseman on that team that's even better than Morgan Rielly.
They're terrible.
No, they're awful. They're awful defensively. Like I was telling to Kyle at the break, the series would be Edmonton would go up by 2 goals, and Chicago would come right back and score 3. That's all it was. Mikko Koskinen was awful. The other, Mike Smith was awful. Oh, I can't stand Mike Smith. Well, we hate him. And it's like Chicago just had the easiest time cycling the puck and scoring goals. It was just embarrassing for Edmonton. Embarrassing. And I loved it because every single pundit, Craig Button, Anthony Stewart, all these guys, Edmonton's the Cinderella story. They're going to win the cup. Well, watch out for Edmonton. These guys stink. They are an embarrassment. Just like the Leafs, they are an embarrassment. How do you have the best player in the world and possibly the second best center in the league? One of the best, at least, you know, he's got, 107 points Draisaitl this year, something like that. MVP. And put up a performance like that against Chicago, a 12 seed? No one should, if you're going to trip the Leafs, Edmonton better be in that same goddamn breath. Oh my God! Dave Tippett, that arrogant. You know he's an arrogant motherfucker. That guy is such a piece of shit. I hate that franchise. The endless amount of first-round picks, and it was so satisfying to me to see Chicago beat them in fucking 5 games?
4
games. They beat them in 4 games. A 12 seed is the Blackhawks that couldn't keep the puck out of their net. Corey Crawford, who gave up a goal to Tyler Ennis when he was trying to clear the puck at the back of the net.
He wasn't even good.
It was satisfying. Chicago was going to get absolutely dummied by Las Vegas. By a team that can actually play defense, but the Edmonton Oilers are a fucking disaster. They are in a worse spot than the Maple Leafs, and I'm saying that right now. They have no defense, no goaltending. I love Connor McDavid, and it's such a shame that poor guy from Newmarket, by the way, who grew up as a Leaf fan, has got to suffer in that goddamn putrid city of Edmonton. Yeah.
Can I just...
That's a great take,
by
the way. We gotta give him a
Let me say something positive, for Christ's sake. Let me say something positive. One thing, and then you can have your field day. Okay? Okay, so Game 1 happens. We know what happened in Game 1.
Oh, yeah, we watched it.
Fucking Chicago dummied them. Like I called Chicago grandfathered them. There's like you're new to this, son. You're gonna get slapped. They fucking slapped them. Taves was dominating McDavid. Like McDavid was losing defensive coverage. It just happened. I take to Twitter, and the whole NHL Twitter is trashing McDavid. This guy he's great talent, but he can't win, and he has no personality, and this, and this. And then my favorite thing, Nick was over, Game 2 happens, and McDavid scores the first goal, and then the fucking dazzler second goal. And I'm doing my fucking, and I'm going nuts. I'm like, it's happening. It's exactly what I predicted. McDavid's taking, you poked the bear. You blew it. You shouldn't have poked the bear. And then they fucked up even after that, and I was devastated. Absolutely devastated. I was like on cloud 9, and then I fell to the depths of hell.
Yeah, and my rant about Edmonton, I just wanted to say, while your city is less than stellar, and your team isn't that great, Connor McDavid, I love, and I hope one day you come home to the city that birthed you. That's all I just want to say.
Like, yeah, the start.
Edmonton fans who are blaming Connor McDavid should be ashamed.
Oh my God,
ashamed of themselves. That man was the only lifeline you had in that series.
Yeah,
him and Draisaitl.
They showed up, bro. He's the highest scoring player in the play-in series.
Yeah, he has.
They showed up.
There is no fault for Connor McDavid in this series. You want to talk about the fault? Talk about that god awful goaltending from Mikko Koskinen and that god awful defense. Oh, like Darnell Nurse was horrific. I love Darnell Nurse. I want him to succeed so badly. I think he's a great player, but God, was he bad. That defense is... And there's no secondary scoring on Edmonton. None at all. When you're relying on Tyler Ennis to put the puck in the net,
This was so disappointing for me. Like,
it was disappointing
it was so
as a hockey fan.
Shocking to me.
It's just... And it is disappointing that, teams like Toronto and Edmonton go out because they're the most passionate hockey fans.
Yeah.
Especially in Canada, and you miss that. But I will say about Edmonton is that, like, I honestly thought this was the year. If any was year for them to go on a run, it would be this year.
Right.
Technically they are the home team. The Stanley Cup final is in Edmonton. They had a great year compared to the year before. McDavid's on fire. Draisaitl on fire. I think it's going to be hungry. And you got a great matchup in Chicago.
Oh, God.
A team that had no business being there. While they do have some great players, and I think we should touch on this, how fucking good Kubalik is. That guy is a great fucking player. He's a big boy. He's a great player. I like him. And even at 30... Kirby Dach, fantastic as well.
Love him.
I just thought that, like, you're right. It was a grandfathering series for the Edmonton Oilers. This might be another one of those wake-up calls for them being like, oh, shit, our defense and goaltending is terrible. We're never going to win,
Right.
with that. But I will say that they're like, they just... were not impressive at all. The only person who was impressive was McDavid, so I do truly feel bad for him because, like, he brought it, man. He brought it.
Oh, my God, he was amazing.
And that Game 1 goal on that rush, holy cow. I was out of my seat. I could not believe that he put that in the net. It was like human highlight reel, man. And the NHL should be ashamed of themselves for playing those games at 10:30. Right. That game should have been, even if it's a bit earlier in the Pacific, there's no fans anyways, who cares?
Yeah.
Put that on NBC at, like, 7 o'clock because people want to see him. You want to grow the sport. Show the best player. This would be like LeBron James in the playoffs giving the Lakers a 10:30 p.m. playoff game. No one's ever going to do that.
No. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, like, why is Nashville and Arizona during manageable hours, but then everyone has to stay up late to watch McDavid?
No one wants to watch Arizona.
It makes no sense.
Not even Arizona.
And the time zones don't even matter. Like, I'm sure people in Chicago weren't able to watch their team play because they were on too late.
Yeah.
So,
my work schedule too.
Fuck that shit.
Fuck it.
Yeah, no, that was they screwed up that. But one guy we haven't mentioned, we didn't mention the heroics of Jonathan Taves.
Jonathan Taves
Right there.
was literally
vintage
Jonathan Taves. Like, it was crazy, and McDavid was amazing. But when Jonathan Taves would outplay McDavid at certain points in this series, and I'd be like, wow, this guy
still got it.
Like,
when the games matter. Yeah,
it's. Oh, he looks like a fucking
Duncan
Viking
Keith.
Keith.
Like a 20-year-old out there. That guy's a better
Viking
skater
Keith.
than Martin Marincin, and Martin Marincin's half his age.
I watched Duncan Keith walk into the building that day, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking Viking. We better watch it. He's fucking somehow
Animal.
He looks like a fucking animal. He's like
Animal.
long
And
hair.
how bad
He's
is it
fucking
for-
built as shit.
How do you feel as a Pittsburgh fan watching Oli Mata put some of those pucks in the
Oh
net?
my God.
And Jack Johnson is
That was a
-7 with
I
like
don't-
no points.
Like Rutherford, like what? He also got that good Branson character, like
Oh.
a couple of years.
I think Eric, we were
What?
talking about that. Weren't we in first year law school? We were talking
Yeah.
about how bad good Branson was. Don't you remember that conversation?
Why the
we
fuck
had?
did he
We
get?
were talking about him being the worst defenseman in the league.
He got Johnson and Goodbranson in a 1-year span, and I almost blew my brains out.
Yeah, that's not conducive to winning at
No,
all. But I think we should also talk about, like, I know Edmonton played badly, but Chicago, again, full credit
they were
to them.
great.
All they did was outscore them. They weren't fancy. When the
Right.
puck was in Edmonton's zone, it was a fire drill. It was like someone pulled the fire alarm, and whatever Dave Tippett coached about defense went out the window because
Out
they
the
were
window.
cycling the puck like crazy. And Koskinen's got to be better. Like, you're a goalie. Like, when you watch Koskinen play, what was going through your head?
No, like first it was Mike Smith. Because we've talked about Mike Smith in the past, and
It was a
I
mistake.
knew after that first game it was like, this was a mistake. I know Tippett likes him because he coached him in Arizona, so okay, they have a bond. But after that, it was done. And then Koskinen comes in, and you're absolutely right. I mean, some of those goals were just odorous, and they can't go in. They can't go in. So yes, goaltending will have to be addressed. Same kind of thing. They're gonna have a like keep Koskinen, get rid of Smith, and get a guy to push Koskinen, and then we can talk. See what.
Koskinen's a legit number one in this
No. But I think he
I just wanted to clarify.
he can be in a timeshare role.
A
for
good
sure.
backup, a Jack
yeah.
Campbell type.
Yeah, he can be in a timeshare role, and maybe if pushed,
skill-wise.
maybe he can
But
play
they
better.
need a number one goalie if they ever want to contend.
Yeah, which
Yes.
they're gonna have to address.
Murray.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, no. Yeah, you might be onto something. You might be onto something.
Whoa.
But I was just confused because I thought the whole point of getting Dave Tippett in there was to bring some structure, to bring some defensive accountability, and you just didn't see it. And it was just weird.
Do you think he tried to play in too much to the offensive mind of he just forgot about defense? Like guys, we're gonna score all these goals. We got all this talent up front, and do you think they only had a certain amount of time, right? They had only a certain amount of time.
Like, just wide open.
You know what?
Like,
set
in
me
some
off?
of those power play goals, there were guys just in front of the net with no one to
This
protect
is
them.
this is what I don't understand, because I looked at this team and I was like, best power play in the NHL by 4%. Great.
Yeah.
Second best penalty kill in the NHL, and I was like, whoa, man, this is
Yeah,
great.
special teams was there.
And it just fell apart. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? So I don't know.
Very frustrating. I don't know. Like, it was just so weird because, like, I thought Edmonton was honestly going to sweep that series. I thought it was going to be 3-0. But after the
I said that too.
But after
Yeah.
because I'm like, Chicago has no business being here. Like, they don't, they don't have the grit that Montreal had. Because I even thought Montreal was going to steal a game, maybe two. But Chicago had none of that, and they just came out game one. And as soon as the game one was 6-4, I'm like, they can't defend against this team. Like, they just simply cannot play defense against this team. And full credit to Jonathan Toews, Duncan Keith, Kubalik, all those guys, and and Corey Crawford, as bad as he was, like, I mean, he was okay.
Well, he looks ugly as hell in net. Like it's not a beauty contest when he's in the crease. But he was really good in that fourth game. In that fourth game, he was making clutch saves. Like they always look pretty. They don't look pretty, but he keeps the puck out of the net. And in that fourth game, when the Oilers were pushing, I thought he really showed up. So good on him. You done there, Kyle, with your
I'm
Oilers?
done, man.
Okay.
Just put me to sleep.
All right. Very quickly, to just
Just
wrap
do
up
it.
the second hour here. The one I paid the least attention to probably Arizona Nashville.
I didn't watch a single game.
All I'll say is I remember, to me, it was just the Darcy Kemper show. Like I told Kyle after game 2 when Nashville won, and then like halfway through game 3, I texted him and I'm like, Nashville's got this in the bag. They're
Yeah, he
outplaying
said
them.
that.
They're
He said
out shooting them. Puck possessions, all Nashville. Right. So I was enamored by Nashville. I'm like, there's no way they're going to lose this. If they just keep this up, they're going to win this. The pucks are going to go in. And I was wrong. Kemper just stole the series.
From Saskatoon, by the way.
From Saskatoon. And
Yep.
and I ate shit. And
You
and
ate
I will
shit.
and I will read this one, another little athletic thing here. I like this one here.
Money well spent on that subscription.
Yeah, for sure. Moments after being eliminated by the Coyotes in overtime, Predators defenseman Ryan Ellis said, quote, "I think we thoroughly outplayed them in a lot of areas," quote, end quote. There is some truth to that, but the Predators were still bounced from the playoffs. Underachieving seasons have become the norm in Nashville, and it is past time for the Predators to do something to rectify that. The problem is that there is no clear path towards improvement. Their salary cap is full of bloated long-term contracts. Also, GM David Poile has whiffed on many of his recent moves. Another critical offseason awaits for a team that is trending downward. Agree or disagree, Kyle?
I agree.
Nice.
I mean, since their 2017 oust by the Pittsburgh Penguins, you got. I mean, here's a weird thing. You've got Matt Duchene. You just acquired, and I thought that would maybe solve the center depth, but like Florida, there seems to be a lack of substance. You know, a lack of. I don't want to say the word character because it's so overused by us, but it's that. It is that, right? Because the talent's there. The defense is great. It's always been great. You've got the center depth now. You've got some talent up front. You've got Calle Yarncroke. You've got Austin Watson.
Yeah.
You know, the playoff guys, right? Yeah, exactly. So what's going on here? I don't get it. Like, it just seems like they're not motivated.
Like I said, I think they deserve to win the series. I just think they ran into a big time goalie.
Well,
I think they deserve to win. I thought they got leafed. Sure.
Right.
But to me, I mean,
they didn't find a way.
They didn't find a way, and I said the TSN turning point for me was Game 3. The series is tied 1-1. They're going to the third period tied 1-1. It is some teams for the taking. And Matt Duchene goes offside on the Nashville presumptively game-winning goal to make it 2-1. Nashville scores to make it 2-1. They're going to have the lead in the third. Matt Duchene goes offside, and you can tell just looking at his facial expression, shaking his head, he knew he was offside, and he made a terrible move. So it's all I'm pegging it all on him there.
Wow. The whole series.
If they take the lead there, it's all momentum, boys.
Did you hear the GM's comments?
No.
Oh, my God.
Poile.
So he basically said, I don't know why Matt Duchene's not available for media, but you can ask him how disappointed he is. Like, he basically just said, like, Matt Duchene's been shit. You should ask him why.
Yeah. No, I see why he's furious. And when I saw that offside call, it was such a nice goal scored, and then they review it, and I was just bummed. TSN turning point. Arizona goes on to win that game like 3-1, 4-1. It was brutal. They deserved to win. They ran into the hot goalie. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think guess all of us, like, I share your sentiment. Like, this was like the series I probably paid least attention to. Like, I watched some of the games, but like, it's obviously the least sexiest series. Nashville is so perplexing because, like, they're the anti-Leafs where they have so much talent on the defensive end, and Yossi and Ekholm and Ellis.
Even Fabro.
Fabro's great too. Any one of those guys could fit in the Leafs' top 4 blue line, but, you know, they just, again, there's something missing with that team that why they're not winners. And, like, again, like, first I thought it was the offensive side, but like you said, they have some good characters on the offensive side too, and, like, can't blame the goalie. Saros was fine. I just think it was a series, you're right, where they ran into a hot Darcy Kemper, and good for him. I always like to see Phil Kessel have success, so I'm happy about that. You know, after that, Steve Simmons. You know, we still didn't touch. I wanted to bring up before the hot dog thing, not the hot dog thing. That was another Steve Simmons era. The COVID.
Yeah.
Steve Simmons, the Austin Matthews doing that. We should talk about that after.
Yeah,
that was,
agreed.
But anyways, back to Arizona. I think I just think it was a case of they had a hot goalie and they ran with it and they deserved to win the series. Nashville's going to have to do some serious soul searching to figure out what the hell they are. They're in like the category of maybe not Florida yet because they're a lot better than Florida, but they still need a direction because after 2017 I thought they're going to win. At some point Nashville will win the cup, but it just hasn't happened. So, you know, maybe they're missing some sort of substance or leadership or something in the room, but I have no idea. But all credit to Arizona and Darcy Kemper. I'm happy they played well, and, you know, it's good for them. Good for them.
Can we agree on one thing, that Arizona, I don't know who they're playing, but whoever they play, they will get fucked. Oh, Colorado. They're going to get fucked.
They are gonna get fucked, yeah. Unless Kemper steals the game, but even then, there's just too much skill and talent on
2
Colorado.
games they're going to forfeit, call it.
They're just exactly. You can only stop so much, exactly.
I love that. I can't wait to watch that.
All right. Well, hey, that'll be that. We can tee off that one after the break. So that does it for our second hour. We'll be back for the final hour shortly, where we will give our predictions of the first round, the first official round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So stick with us, and we will be right back. I think he can. We'll see. Okay. So welcome back. Episode 13, Rink Moose Podcast. Moving on to the fun part of the show, the predictions. Where Kyle gets to make a fool of himself yet again.
Yay!
So
I'm a perennial winner of bracket challenges.
You?
Yes.
You win every year?
Yeah, when Pittsburgh was winning.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, years ago, sure. But before we do that, Joe wants to touch on a subject that he mentioned in the last hour. So, Joe, go ahead here. What is it that's on your mind here with the Steve Simmons story? Why don't you just give a refresh to the fans of what the hell happened? Because I guess it's been some time now.
Yeah.
Get it off your chest, Joe.
So before the NHL play-in series, Steve Simmons reported confidential medical information about Austin Matthews and the fact that he had COVID. That was information that wasn't supposed to obviously leak to the press because it's a very sensitive matter. Here's the thing with Steve Simmons, and I think we can all agree on this. He's an asshole. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's an asshole. He is pissed off, not just Austin Matthews, but Jose Bautista. He's pissed off in the city. He's pissed off. Jose Bautista is one of the most beloved athletes in this city of all time, possibly one of the greatest Blue Jays of all time. In addition to that, he's pissed off Phil Kessel, who at the time was one of the greatest Leafs and went on to win two Stanley Cups. Steve Simmons, like we were talking about at the break, Steve Simmons writes for Steve Simmons. He doesn't write for any objectivity. And I think what he did to Austin Matthews was absolutely gutless. There's no difference in that than reporting them whether Austin Matthews had a cold or had the flu or had anything else. It has nothing to do with hockey. It's something that doesn't affect the game of hockey, and it's something that shouldn't have been reported. There are obviously injuries which should be reported that are, the team releases, but confidential medical information with respect to things like that, I think that's a gutless move. I think that's a very unethical move. And in fact, the Toronto Sun's basically just a tabloid anyway. Let's be real here. It's not read by the smartest people. But I will say that I'm very happy that Matthews spoke out against him, and I thought it was a great moment for Austin Matthews when he said that, and he still answered the question, which I thought was awesome. I think that was the biggest FU to Steve Simmons. Yeah,
agreed. No, there's not many moments where I say, wow, that was a great move by Matthews. But this was one of them. This was one of them. I think that Steve Simmons absolutely deserved that, to be called out in front of all his peers, to be called out in front of his colleagues and publicly like that. Like, it was just a shitty move to do, to name names in his article. If you say a Leafs player, whatever, but to name names and that kind of thing, like, just a shitty move, and good on Austin Matthews for calling him out. I really respect that.
Yeah, well handled. I mean, a tough situation to be in for sure. You're in a tough spot when the guy does that to you. But I think he said his piece, and I'll be honest. Me as a guy who just tunes into the radio for like entertainment's sake, I like his stupid takes just so I can laugh at them.
Ooh.
Like, I think it makes
for Pierre Maguire.
Okay, Pierre's actually educated, but I don't consider Steve Simmons very educated.
Come on. But and neither is like Damien Cott.
Yeah. So so I don't know. I'm there for the the entertainment value, but it's more comes at the expense of his stupidity as opposed to how eloquent he is or how good his takes are. So yeah, there's a place for him, but sometimes he crosses the line, and he crossed the line there. So of course, at the expense of stupidity. Yes. Yeah. So. Yeah. Moving right along, Steve Simmons aside, prediction hour.
We hate Steve.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Where do you want to start, Kyle? You're looking at your bracket there. Where are your eyes looking at right now?
I want to start in the East.
Okay. which matchup there in the East, Kyle?
Philly.
Okay. So
Philly's the number one seed. It makes
sense.
So
can I outright, I like, injecting myself into your mind and making bold proclamations. Is
I feel violated.
You know how last show you picked 3 must-watch series that you'd have like your time's valuable, but you were going to tune in for 3, right?
Okay.
Is this the number 1 series for you, Montreal, Philly?
Let me just look.
Because it's your dark horse and it's your Montreal team.
No
right?
question whatsoever.
Okay.
This is my number 1 watch series.
Okay, so
I'll watch every game if I can.
So if you're so passionate about it, why don't you set the table? What can fans expect from this series, and who do you like? We're going to be very brief with this segment.
I'm going to say something similar to what I said for Pittsburgh-Montreal, but I'm going to say it actually happens this time. I think Philly is going to be the better team. The goalie battle is interesting because Carter Hart is a huge Carey Price fan. Carter Hart has really, really, really impressed me from what I've seen from him in the round robin, which take with a grain of salt, but I think this kid is really legit. What I do think is that Philadelphia will outplay Montreal. They're sharp. Their systems are on point. Everything is clicking right now. But Montreal has that kind of tenacity. They've got the confidence now. We can do this. And I think Drouin is starting to click. Ever since he got that goal, he's starting to click. I feel it in my heart. He cut the hair, and I started feeling it. Like at first, I was telling Rudy, again, the new fan, I was like, this guy always fucks up. And then at the end of the fucking series, I was telling him,
I'm sorry, is Rudy a Canadian? Like, does he live under the rock for the past? Yeah, who's Rudy?
He's actually from Montreal.
He has.
I know. No.
He's from Montreal, and he's never watched hockey.
Correct. Yeah,
He
just never watched
under
it.
A rock?
I know. We're gonna have him on the next show.
Please.
So I have Philly in this one. There's no doubting it. I do think Montreal takes it to a level that Philly doesn't expect. Because again, Montreal is battle tested. There's something to be said for these play-in series teams that are battle tested. Montreal's got a swing of confidence. They're now rested, and I think this goes to 7 games. But Philly takes it because they're on point, they're clicking, and Carter Hart is a legit goalie. But Montreal does all they can, kicking and screaming, like I said last time, and they make it a series.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with you on that. I think Philly is by far the better team, and I've always said that Philadelphia will be a dangerous team once they get goaltending, and they finally got goaltending in Carter Hart. I love the defense. I love Provorov. I love Giroux. I love the way they play hockey. Kevin Hayes is he's fantastic. What an acquisition.
Fucking Konechny.
Yeah, they're a good team, and I think the urgency that Montreal didn't get from Pittsburgh, they're going to get from Philadelphia, and that's going to shock them. And if Carey Price even has a semblance less of how he played in the first round against Pittsburgh, Philadelphia win the series. But he's Carey Price, so I'm not betting against him. I think Philadelphia wins this one in 6 games. I think Montreal gives them about all they can handle. It won't be an easy series for Philadelphia. But I think 6 games Philadelphia wins simply because they are the better team and they're just more dialed in than Pittsburgh is. They look great.
Speaking of being dialed in, I always liked the talent on Philly. I always liked the faces of the franchise, like Couturier and Giroux and stuff. But they always lacked like a coaching and like structure and like accountability. And I think Vigneault really brought that in. I think he's definitely going to be on the Coach of the Year ballot. I think he is. He's one of the top 3 there. And I just think he brings that playoff hockey element, right? And he always has success the first year with the team, right? I think that's the trend. So I just expect that to take full force. I think for as much as I applauded Claude Julien earlier in the show, I think he's going to be outcoached by Alain Vigneault. Yeah, and you're going to love this, Kyle. You know, who coached the Canadians before Claude Julien? Where's Therrien right now? Assistant coach of Philadelphia.
Is he really?
Yeah, so Therrien versus Claude. Literally.
Wow, that's cool.
So I love their staff. They got Vigneault, they got Therrien, and a friend of mine, Mike Yeo, who I really liked in St. Louis. So I think their coaching staff, yeah. But I liked him. But you know I have a soft spot for him. I always showed you those interviews.
He's a dickhead.
I liked him. I always, hey,
He's
you guys can cheer my coaches all you want, but I like my coaches.
I don't want this guy winning anything.
Anyways, I think it's an all-star coaching staff. I think, your two-way players like Couturier, who's arguably like the best two-way player in the league, is really going to show up. Hayes really shores up the center depth there. And the D's very underrated. Like guys like Sanheim are extremely underrated. Provorov's only growing, and Carter Hart. I don't think he'll be Carey Price level, but I think he'll do. He doesn't have to be. He'll do just enough to get him through the finish line there. 7 games though. I got 7 too.
I have one more thing to say. I'm gonna change my answer. I'm gonna say Montreal wins in 7.
Okay.
And that's just because it's fucking COVID. And why the fuck should I pick Philly over Montreal?
Sure.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Like, why? I'm not going to go against my favorite team. Why the hell would I do that in this series? There's no telling who could win, right? So I'm going to say Montreal.
Bet a round of drinks on the lowest amount of right picks.
Exactly.
That would be fun.
I
Yeah,
was
let's
only
do
50-50
that.
last
Let's do that.
round.
Can we shake on that?
Yeah,
Wait, what's the deal?
Can we handshake with Kobe?
Okay, so
Of course.
whoever does the worst in these predictions tonight, like 0 for 8, 1 for 8,
We'll get
2
a
for
round.
8,
Okay.
we'll have to buy a round of drinks for
I
everybody.
love that.
Okay.
I love that.
There we go.
Okay.
There you go.
2.
Should we keep track of these, or are we doing the honor system?
Oh, we'll remember. We got it recorded.
Did you invite him to the bracket?
I will.
Yeah.
We have a bracket every year annually, like
Yeah,
the friends
official
back
NHL
home.
bracket.
I'll invite you that after the show.
It has to be done tonight, though.
Yeah.
Or before tomorrow. Or is the deadline tonight?
It's in
I guess.
20 hours as of 3 hours ago.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So
I'll
it's
get I'll get
before
that
the
to you
next
after
game.
the show.
Yeah,
That way we can keep track of it easier.
exactly.
Okay, cool. Moving on. Let's go to next matchup, which is it kicks off tomorrow. I think it's a great one to kick off the next round. It'll get a bunch of excitement going. 3:00 tomorrow, Tampa, Columbus.
Rematch.
You know what? I'm just gonna lead off here. This is my final little screenshot that I need to read of the night. You won't hear Blue Jackets GM Jarmo Kekalainen say anything publicly, but you can be certain a score is being kept. Goaltender Sergei Bobrovsky left the Blue Jackets for Florida, while Artemi Panarin bolted for New York, and Matt Duchene signed with Nashville, all leaving Columbus unrestricted free agents last summer. Update: the Panthers were bounced by the Islanders, the Rangers by Carolina,
Yes.
and Nashville by Arizona in the qualifying round, meaning all three of those players will be watching from home when the real playoffs get started tomorrow.
I love it.
Meanwhile, the team they left for dead, Columbus, lives on to play another day.
Love it.
I know you love that.
Fucking golden justice.
Okay.
You lawyers can talk about justice in this case. I
Yeah.
love it. Fuck those guys.
So,
Unloyal pieces of shit. Pieces of shit.
yeah.
New York Rangers are all pieces of shit,
Okay.
including
Established.
Lafreniere.
Oh, wow. Hot take.
Kidding.
So, yeah, I mean, this is interesting because you know our gripe with John Cooper, right? Well aware of it.
Your guys are with John Cooper.
So I
we-
hate him because he's a phony lawyer,
Well, he is a phony lawyer.
and he hates him because
This guy right here. You know the story.
Yeah. Okay.
You know the story.
Okay.
The first day I ever met Nick, the first week I ever met Nick, one of the first things he asked me was, "I'm doing a fantasy hockey series. Who do you think I should pick up out of these players?" I said, "Don't even ask me. It's Jonathan Drouin. He's going to be a stud. He's going to be rookie of the year, and I promise you he's going to get you tons of points." And Cooper benched him left, right, and center. At every chance he could, he fucking
So you
benched
hate him
him.
because he made your advice like that.
He made my advice look
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
And further yet, I think he had the talent to be played hockey. I even paid
Are
money.
you saying that John Cooper's responsible for Drouin's erratic play?
Yes.
Hmm.
And I paid
Interesting.
$9 to watch an AHL game.
To watch Jonathan Drouin.
Yes. That's how fucking invested I was in this player, and Cooper fucked it up for me.
Yeah, I mean, he is a fake lawyer. That's a fact. I mean, like I remember like on the radio they were talking, "Oh, John Cooper's a smart, educated guy." So I'm like, "Oh shit, he's a lawyer. That's pretty cool." Like I thought Alapit Tabor, right? You know, look it up. The Thomas M. Cooley School of Law. The median LSAT score I think is like a 134. Like you can get that blind. You can get that blind. No, you can get that blindfolded probably. So,
That's
like, yeah.
good.
I guess with this series, it's like, isn't it just a great storyline? I think so. You have the team that
Yes.
embarrassed them and swept them last year against a hungry Tampa team. Mind you, missing Steven Stamkos. And is Victor Hedman still hurt? Yes. So
He's
minus
out.
missing Stamkos and Hedman. And then you have Columbus missing Duchene, Bobrovsky, and Panarin. So it's going to be interesting. I think that this is an enhanced version for Columbus of the Leafs, Tampa Bay, because I think the Leafs are Tampa light.
Right.
But Tampa's obviously has a lot more skilled players. I think this series is going to go the distance. I think it's going to go 7 games just because of the way Columbus plays. But I think Tampa Bay will exact their revenge and win this series. I think Vasilevsky's going to show up. I think the skilled players are going to get it done. And I think I don't think John Tortorella is going to be able to implement his game plan as successfully as he does against the Leafs. He will frustrate them. That's why I think it's going to go 7 games because they're very opportunistic, Columbus. And with Jones and Werenski, anything is possible. But Tampa's a good defensive team. Like they are,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
They have, outside of Hedman, they have a good defensive core. And Vasilevsky is arguably one of the best, right? So 7 games, Tampa wins it.
yeah, for me, for all the we can dish Cooper all day, but like for me, like it'll be the ultimate test as to if he's graduated as a coach. Sure. Like Torts took you to school sweeping your team last season, and if he has the same success this year, it'll show you learned absolutely nothing. Yeah. And if he can beat Torts, if he can outcoach Torts, then maybe I'll show a little bit of glimmer of respect for Cooper. That a phony lawyer, yeah. Like lawyer aside, is just as a hockey coach, he will give me some. He will have earned a little bit of my respect. So I think this is the ultimate test for him. I'm so glad we got this matchup, and Tampa didn't get like an easy matchup like Montreal. I think they would have ran past Montreal. I don't think that's a matchup Montreal would have liked.
Having the Leafs would have been interesting.
Oh, well, going into last night, I'm like, if the Leafs win this,
that would have been fun.
Oh, what a series!
So
I've been
fun.
wanting that series for so long. But anyways, I think it's the perfect test for Coops, and we'll see if he can bring it. So personally, my take is I think Columbus put too much in the tank in the Toronto series. I think they're going to be a little tired, and I think Jonas Korpisalo putting up a 980 is unsustainable, especially when you have more snipers. Yeah. Like Tavares was missing the net a lot. He had that one off the post yesterday. Tampa's not going to miss that often. So I think Tampa's going to be fresh. I think Columbus is going to be tired from the emotional taxing Toronto series. And I have this one going. I have Tampa winning this one in 5.
A message like the John Tortorella message, where you're relying so much on this raw, like not only structure but emotional appeal. We saw the John Tortorella speech from last year's Tampa Bay series. It doesn't last so long. Like you can't keep motivating guys the same way. So I really wholeheartedly agree with Nick on that take, where I think Columbus is emotionally spent. I think they drained the tank beating Toronto, just emotionally, and then it's like climbing Mount Everest and then someone saying, "Oh, great job, you got a bigger one next up," and you're like, "Are you
at least
fucked?"
Mount Everest?
Well, you know what I mean. Like it was a tough series for them to overcome. Exactly. So then they're like, "Okay, you got a bigger one now." And it's like, do they really have the mental fortitude?
You know, I think you both have convinced me. I might have to lower my to at least 6 games. I still think it's going to go beyond 5. 6 games. Yeah.
I'll cut it to short. I have Tampa in 6.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to copy Kyle. I'll go with for the purpose of the bet. I'll go with 6 games for Tampa Bay. Yeah. There's no way they're putting up that save percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto shot 1.97%.
So the amount of games will be like a tiebreaker.
Sure.
If someone's in the
Well,
there's a tie.
this will tier us based on all the factors. Whoever comes third out of the 3 of us will be the loser.
Will be the drink buyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it factors in all aspects.
Cool. Moving along, this one we touched on earlier. Caps Islanders, big one. I will be short because I exasperated my energy earlier. I'm extremely high on the Islanders. They showed me so much in that playing round versus Florida. Again, I know it was Florida, but they still showed me an element that I hadn't seen during the regular season, or I hadn't watched them enough. Barzal has propped himself into a top 7 player in the league for me. Ooh, and as far as just offense, pure offense, I'm sorry,
love
Joe.
that.
Sorry, Joe.
I love
for
that.
me, he's like 7th or something like that.
Tell him about the Duran trade. No, I tell him later.
No, I'll
tell him.
And yeah, I'm just extremely high on him. So for me, I think Brady Trotz is going to come with fire. I think he's going to want to prove it to his old team.
Yes.
I think Washington has been posting too many Instagram videos of them being hooligans in the hotel room.
Yes.
The Russians. Samsonov and Kuznetsov and Ovechkin. I want to get Kyle started there.
We had a moment.
I think it's been too many shenanigans there. I think Ovi's been hitting the beers too hard over the break. I just think again, I love those teams that just buy in to that team philosophy. I don't think they exasperated as much energy as Columbus last round, and that's why I think Islanders still have another A series ahead of them. And I got the Islanders winning this one in 7.
I think your perception of the Islanders is a lot to do with recency bias, Nick. No, like I respect. One more thing.
my concern going into this is I feel like I've fallen too in love with these qualifying teams because I watched so much hockey this past week, and I watched none of the round robin. I haven't seen Washington play in so long, so I will cede you that, but I'm going to stick with my guns. So there we go.
Yeah, respect. I just I think that Washington's too skilled of a team. Like, I think the Islanders just just how you said Columbus was emotionally taxed. The Islanders might not have been taxed enough, and they're going to fall into that trap where, like, oh shit, we have to have some adversity right now. And again, Washington is not Florida. Washington's a better defensive team. They have Braden Holtby, who's a great goalie. They have guys that won before: Ovechkin, Backstrom, Kuznetsov. Washington's going to win this series in 6. They're too skilled. They're a better team. They're not going to give the Islanders the room that Florida had in the offensive zone, and they're not going to be terrible defensively in their own zone. And again, if the Capitals go up like 2-0, 3-0, the Islanders can't score. So, and Matthew Barzal is not a top 7 player in the NHL. So that's just me.
Pure skill.
I mean, pure offensive ceiling. I think he's a top 7 player in the league.
Agreed.
I think he is.
Agreed.
Not the two-way game, but I think pure driving the offense, power play presence.
Agreed.
Top 7.
Skating, skill, passing.
We'll have to agree to disagree on Matthew Barzal.
I agree.
I think he's a great player, but I don't think
wholeheartedly.
he's anywhere in the top 10.
I think the Islanders have a clear goalie advantage.
Whoa!
I
agree, man. I don't like Holtby. You've never liked him.
I don't like Holtby, especially. I don't trust him. He's like a Matt Murray to me. He's like a Matt Murray to me. I just don't trust him.
Mitch Korn.
Mitch Korn. He needs Mitch Korn.
He lost Mitch Korn. Mitch Korn used to coach for Washington. There's so many great stories here. I love it.
Exactly.
Is this a real person, Mitch Korn?
Yes. Mitch Korn.
I think.
I don't know how to spell his name. So.
Based on the structure,
like a
the
bully
Islanders
coach.
have a clear defensive advantage, and then I think that their amazing center depth and their great fourth line can turn it into a Columbus-type scenario with the offense, and I think it's going to be 6 games.
Yes,
It's
Kyle.
not even going to be that hard.
Yes.
So this is going to be easy for me to win these drinks.
Okay.
I don't know. Well, we need this disagreement.
No, this is
or
great.
else
We
we're
can't
gonna-
all agree, right? We
Exactly.
agreed on the first 2 series, so here we go.
No. I had Montreal.
Oh, you had Montreal. All right.
changed my
I think
answer.
that's gonna. Yeah, 2 L's for Kyle.
No. Hey, you can't just pick the consensus. You're going to be
Yeah.
wrong. You know it. It's 2020.
No, you're right.
It's 2020. One of these is going to be
All right,
totally wrong.
all right. Final series in the East. I'll let Joe tee off on this one. Carolina, Boston. Again,
the driver,
perfect example of, yet again, I might be falling in love with the qualifying team
Right.
and forgetting about the sleeping giant that has been the Bruins, who went 0-3 in the qualifying.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk the audience into believing that Carolina's got a shot here?
So you know what's going to happen, though, right? It's going to be game 1, and I'm going to sit down on my ass at 7 o'clock at night, and I'm going to go rooting for the Canes, and Boston's going to win 6-0.
Exactly.
They're going to come out, and they're going to win 6-0. The announcer before the game is going to be like, Boston hasn't won a game all round robin, and 30 seconds in, it's going to be a tic-tac-toe from Bergeron to Marchand to Pasternak back of the net.
Bingo.
So that's what's going to
Bingo.
happen in game 1. But this is a 7-game series. I told you, Carolina is adaptable. They're fast, they're speedy, they're skilled, and Carolina is going to take it to the Bruins, unlike any other team they've faced before. I think Boston, there's something wrong with this team, and I agree with Jeff O'Neill and the Overdrive crew, and they've been saying this for weeks. There's something smells in Boston. I don't know what it is. If it's the aging core, I don't know what it is, but something smells there. And I think Carolina is just too skilled. They have great defense, and as long as Mrazek, and the assumption I'm operating on is that Mrazek and Reimer they don't play like we've seen them play in the past where they're erratic. They still can maintain this. I think this is going to be Carolina in 7 games.
Fair.
I think there's no way you can't count out Boston, obviously. The series could go either way. It's probably the closest series of the entire East. But Carolina is just, I think, they're playing at a level right now where I don't think Boston can slow them down. But then again, like I said, I could be wrong. I mean, like, you don't want to poke the bear. But I will guarantee a Game 1 win for Boston. I'm guaranteeing a Game 1 win for Boston. Like a 5-1, 4-1.
A drudging.
Begrudging, drubbing win for Boston. They might even win the first 2 games, but Carolina will... Boston's, I don't think they're the same team.
So one thing I'll say is Does the sweep last year scare you at all?
No, only because I think that was a learning experience for Carolina. I think they're a much better team this year. I don't think they were getting the goaltending that they were getting last year. Same goalie, but I think he's been playing, at least for this qualifying rounds, better. No, it doesn't scare me. I still think I think they're a more experienced team this year, Carolina, and I think they're going to beat Boston.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny you say that. Like, the consensus in the hockey world is Carolina's hot as shit, and Boston hasn't won a game, right? So exactly. Consensus would say, "Oh, Carolina, I feel a strong hunch that Carolina would win." That's why I choose Boston, because I just think that Boston has this veteran element where they haven't been really giving it their all yet. Like, you haven't seen Boston show up yet, and I don't know what we're gonna get. This is a real gamble for me. It's a coin flip, and
Rask might be playing a little hurt.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it?
it's possible.
I mean, Halak is a competent backup.
He's a good backup, and I don't trust Mrazek that much. I'll be honest. Like, against a legitimate Boston Bruins team, I'm not sure.
That Mrazek and Reimer don't be
Right. Exactly. So this is a real coin flip for me. I love what I've seen from Carolina. The structure's amazing, but I mean, Boston, they come into this supposedly very hungry. They were in the finals last year. They had a taste. Exactly. So I could see them really showing up in a way that we didn't expect. So I'll have Boston in 7. Very close. Very, very close.
I'm a big believer in how you're playing going into the playoffs. I always notice that's an overwhelming trend. The teams that are consistently have a winning records at the end of the regular season always start off really strong in the playoffs. And that's why I'm going to go Carolina in 7 on this one, because I think it's going to be a trend. I think these qualifying teams are going to come out with a bit more spark than the sleeping round robin teams. Not everyone, but I think this will be a classic example where Carolina, they reach their peak, they swept the Rangers, they've had some time off. They're going to get Hamilton back, maybe Pesce back. They look great top to bottom. Like, I compare them. The defense looks great. Can the goaltending keep up? For me, again, it's just the momentum. I love Boston. I love Carolina, but I just think momentum is going to be the key here, and I just like the team that's come out with a sweep.
It's going to be the best one.
Perhaps. Very possible.
Be great.
Mm-hmm.
I can't deny that.
There's serious intrigue in all of them, which I love. Like, I would
not everyone.
I would watch Washington, New York easily.
I can't watch the Islanders.
Like, I think Calgary and Dallas is going to be a
Okay,
mess.
well, we haven't talked about the West yet.
But no, I agree. The East looks great. The East does look great.
It's going to be dialed in tomorrow. It's going to be
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be great. And
it starts tomorrow. That's like, boom, right there.
and they don't even stagger the games. It's literally 4 games every day. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah, crash course. You're
Oh,
gonna
boy.
be like me next week, vegetable on the couch, just enjoying all this. But yeah, no. Needless to say, wrapping up the East there, I'll go Carolina in 7. So it looks like we both got Carolina and Kyle, Boston. So yeah, it'll be a great series, and we'll see what happens there. So moving along, the West, top of the West. So looks like we got Peter DeBoer and the Vegas Golden Knights against Jeremy Colleton and the Blackhawks. Yeah, I think I'm just going to start off saying I'm not going to hold back here. Vegas was my pick back in January when DeBoer was hired. I said it outright: this team's winning the cup, and I will maintain that to right now. And I was ashamed I didn't put money on them then, but it is what it is. And I think they're going to thump Chicago. I think this is a 4-game series sweep, the only sweep of the first round. And I think Vegas is just going to want to make quick work of them, get some rest.
Good luck.
And it sounds like DeBoer is leaning more towards he's not faithful to any of the goalies. He's showing no faith to Fleury because they're rivals. Because they, of course, the San Jose Vegas series from last year, they are rivals. So it looks like Leonard will be starting Game 1 tomorrow night.
Vegas have rivalries. They've been in the league for like 2 years.
Hey, that was a big one
Consider me unimpressed
with the lawyer.
with Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, I think it's going to be a sweep. So here we go, Joe. Why don't you take it from here?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a sweep, but this isn't Edmonton they're playing. Vegas isn't a great defensive team. Pete DeBoer's a great coach, and might I add, a real lawyer. He went to the University of Windsor. Smart guy, good coach. Although he seems to me that he can never get it done in the big game. He seems to be a little bit of
He's got a bad rap.
yeah.
I root for guys.
Yeah, I root for Vegas because I just love their team. I love William Karlsson. I think Vegas is a great team. And they play defense very well, and that's something that Chicago didn't run into against Edmonton. Chicago doesn't have good enough defense either. This is going to be a 5-game series win for Vegas, and the real lawyer of the NHL, a very smart man, University of Windsor law graduate Pete DeBoer, and the Vegas Golden Knights are going to take this series in 5 games.
Oh, I'll make it quick. Chicago has kind of gained motivation from being underrated and the underdog. I'm sure they had posters of Edmonton will crush Chicago all over their dressing room. It's the same storyline here. Vegas will crush Chicago. They'll take some solace in that. I think you haven't seen Patrick Kane yet in the playoffs. Like, he was pretty good in the Edmonton series, but not his best. So I say Vegas in 6.
Ooh.
Give him a little bit of a...
We got 4, 5, 6 here.
Yeah.
That's
Give him a bit of a cushion here.
Sure.
Yeah, no, like you got to give a nod to the veterans of Chicago.
Yeah.
Jonathan Toews will give it his all. Maybe they'll win a game or 2.
I mean,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Vegas is just... They're going to get out of it quick, and they're going to get some rest. That's what they're going to hope to do. So,
well, if Chicago's veterans and their young guys are all clicking like we saw them, I mean, you never know. You really never know.
Okay.
We'll see how Vegas comes out of this round-robin nonsense, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing great. Yeah.
They came in ready.
They came in ready.
Unlike fucking some other teams.
Yeah.
St. Louis.
All right, simmer down. We'll get to them soon.
Colorado.
Colorado, Arizona.
Yes, I'll make it quick.
All I'm gonna say, all I'll say here is I'm glad, Kyle, you're gonna get to learn about the Arizona Coyotes. If I were to challenge you right now to name a dozen players on that team, I don't think you could do it.
12 players, Nick? That's like
on
more
Arizona.
than half the roster.
Yeah, I want you to do it.
Okay.
I don't think you can.
You want me to do it right now?
Yeah, do it right now.
Taylor Hall, Phil Kessel, Jason Dvorak,
Christian
Jason
Dvorak.
yeah, whatever. Keller, Barrett Hayton. What am I at? 6.
Saskatoon.
Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah, Saskatoon.
Kemper, Antti Ranta, Stepan. That's 10. That's really good.
No,
so
you're
far.
not there yet.
Fucking Christ. Okay. Hold on. Lawson Krause. One more. God damn it.
I knew you'd struggle. That's why I chose 12.
12 is a lot, man.
12, that's like half the team, yeah.
That's
11 out of 12 isn't bad.
It's pretty good.
okay. I'm
Pretty
done.
proud of
Yeah,
you. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're gonna get to learn about guys like Brad Richardson and
I don't wanna learn about that
and
guy.
Connor Garland.
Oh, I knew that.
I'm glad you're gonna get to learn about these guys.
I know Connor Garland.
And I'm happy. Arizona's even a soft spot team for me. I like my I like
It's
my
embarrassing,
defensive
Nick.
teams.
It's embarrassing.
I think
don't have a general manager.
I like what Rick Tocchet's done there with the D. I like that they're one of the only 3 tracksuit teams left, so I always cheer for the tracksuit teams. Oh, so tight! You see his
tight.
tits? Yeah, for
Too
sure.
tight.
Yeah. No,
No,
I don't know what
no,
they're
no.
thinking, man.
Stupid.
The other guy, like at least Tocchet, he's got like a ski jacket on.
Yeah.
It's a little more.
Farrell,
Yeah.
like, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
What a
no.
fucking mistake.
But
that was.
but no. Anyways, fashion aside, I'm not going to give Arizona anything in this series. Like I said, I respect them. I'm glad Kyle's going to be forced to watch them. Like that gives me entertainment and satisfaction knowing he has to endure watching this team. Because any other day you would not watch this team.
No,
No.
I've never.
But you love Carolina.
would I voluntarily.
You love Colorado
watch this.
so much. You're gonna watch all these games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I got Colorado winning this in 5. I just think it's gonna be too much for Kemper. I think Kemper might steal a game, but he was able to win the series against Nashville. I just think Colorado's going to pepper them with even more effort, more shots, and he won't be able to handle all of them. So Colorado 5.
Yeah. If Carolina's my team in the East, Colorado is my team in the West. I love Vegas, but I think Colorado is also a perfectly balanced team of speed, skill, toughness. Obviously, they have my boy Nazem Kadri on that team, who will forever be a Leaf. So if he wins this, the Leafs, it counts as a Leaf Stanley Cup. Nathan McKinnon, Landeskog. There's just two. Makar, who I absolutely love.
Oh.
Like, just a stud is better than Quinn Hughes, by the way.
Yeah, we're in agreement.
That's an objective fact. I love Quinn, but he's not better than Kyle. This is going to be the first sweep in the West. It's going to be a 4-game sweep, and Colorado's going to take it. Kemper's not going to handle it, and after they whack their GM Arizona, no one knows where Shaka is. I just don't have any faith. And they're able to steal it against Nashville, but it's not going to happen against Colorado. They're not going to win a game. It's going to be 4 for Colorado.
John Chaika is on the run, running from hitmen.
He's Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas.
Yeah. So I don't need to add anything to this.
Yeah.
Like you guys said, like Joe said it way better than Nick. 4 games. Ridiculousness. You haven't even seen McKinnon really break out in the round robin. Like Rantanen, Makar, Landeskog, Kadri. Kadri as a second line center, like it's a recipe for success. As long as he doesn't get those fucking suspensions, then hey.
You can always count on Madsen for one of those.
Yeah. They've got Nichushkin, like they have everything. The formula's perfect, I think. And you've got the great goalie tandem, Grubauer and Francouz.
Francouz.
Whatever. Yeah, they don't even know who they're gonna pick, which is exactly what you seem to like is in your goalie pushing the other goalie. So, Colorado 4, not even close. I do.
That's the one thing for me for Colorado.
Yeah.
Can I rely on their goaltending?
I wouldn't say he loses games for the team. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, moving on to what I would call the toughest one to predict in my mind. And you guys will disagree.
I disagree already.
But I have a hard time picking between Dallas and Calgary. I know you guys were shit-talking Calgary earlier, but I don't know. I've always been a little more fond of them because they fit more into the mold I like. I think that...
boring.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do.
Minnesota type, Columbus type.
But no, I think...
I started calling you Guy Boucher.
Thank you. I'd love you to call me that. Or Jacques Lemaire. I'd like that one too. Yeah, call me Jacques.
Yeah. 1-3-1.
Yeah, 1-3-1. That's good. But no, I like their team. I like their defense. I'm a big fan of like a guy like I think Rasmus Andersson. That's an underrated defenseman. Love watching him play. Giordano's old and grumpy, but he can still carry his weight. Also an Italian. There you go. Brownie points there. Mangiapane. Yeah, he showed me a lot too. He's a feisty guy. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Tkachuk is an element that Stars lack. Like kind of that gritty in your face kind of guy. I don't know enough about the Stars. I like guys like Cogliano. I think those guys are good in the playoffs. Good guys to have. Yep. So it's so tough because I like elements of you. Think Pavelski's always been a playoff performer kind of guy. We saw that with the Sharks last year before he got injured. So it's so hard for me to pick. So why don't you guys prove your case first, and then I'll chime in.
Dallas in 5.
Dallas in 5. Oh yeah, I don't know. It is a tough series to pick because like they're both teams that like are not like again this isn't like not a sexy series at all. Like no one wants to sit there and watch it. Like
Not
it's
gonna
the most
watch
boring.
this.
Like, no one's gonna watch this series.
Not a chance.
Unless you're a Stars or Flames fan. I don't know if there are any Dallas Stars fans, but if there are, look, I think this is gonna come down to like goaltending as well. I don't know if I trust Cam Talbot either.
Nope.
It's just so hard to pick because both the teams just like blah. It's not.
Yeah, I know.
They don't really have definitive styles where like I think of Calgary, I think of one thing, I think of Dallas, think of the other thing. I don't know. I guess I have to go with the team that I think has the more talented team. I think Klingberg and Sagan and Ben and Pavelski. I think all those guys might make a difference in a playoff series, and they look pretty good in the round robin, aside for blowing that lead to Vegas. But I don't know. I'm gonna say Dallas in 6. Like it's just Yeah, I don't think Calgary's good enough, and yeah.
My prediction comes mainly out of the lack of faith in Calgary.
Yeah, the top line. The top line.
Rather than my faith in Dallas. I think whatever Dallas does, they're not going to make it far.
No.
So
They're just never going to win.
Yeah.
And Calgary took advantage of they didn't even beat Winnipeg. They more just took advantage of a very lucky position.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's so tough.
Dallas shocked you last season.
Yeah, they did. And you know what? They came within a goal of beating St. Louis.
Yeah.
You know, they made it to double overtime in Game 7, if you recall correctly.
So they have that.
And they have that. And I think it goes without saying they have the better goalies. They have a nice tandem going between Khudobin and Bishop. They got the goalies. It's going to be boring as shit. Dallas is boring as shit, but I can never trust like the top. Oh yeah, but I could never trust like those top guys of Calgary, like Kyle said, the Goudreaus and the Monahans. So, it pains me to say it, but I think Pavelski will go into playoff mode. I think he'll lead this team, and I think Dallas will take this series in 6.
Can I make a quick prediction?
Yeah.
Jamie Benn, Matthew Tkachuk fight in Game 1. Call it. Lock it down. It's going to happen. 100%.
Cool.
Yep.
I like that.
Moving on. By the way, Jamie Benn, without the distraction of his attractive wife or girlfriend, will be much better. Much better. Because I find that he's a great player who's been now distracted by his rich lifestyle. Because he used to be a humble kid, and now I don't think so.
Ever since that, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Neat little.
Is he from Ontario?
He's from BC. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the final series. One that I think is going to be great. I probably put this one. This is my most anticipated series in the West. This is St. Louis, Vancouver. We talked about how exciting a team Vancouver is. But we also, I have so much respect for St. Louis. They were my Stanley Cup. I had them going to the conference final last year. They ended up winning the whole thing, so shame on me.
Shame on you.
But I still had them.
Absolutely.
I still had them, and
it's your favorite team.
No, I'd say San Jose was my favorite.
Oh, okay.
DeBoer. So yeah, no, I think it's going to be a good series. I think it's going to be a long one. I think St. Louis will be tested. But I think they're too deep. I don't think Vancouver's deep enough. I don't think they're deep enough on the back end. I don't think the goaltending can be as trusted as young Binnington.
Vinny's a dickhead.
I just don't know if I don't know if they'll be able to hang tough with St. Louis. I just think St. Louis will play that playoff hockey that I don't think Canucks know how to play just yet. Yeah. I think it's going to be the Leafs. It's going to be like a learning experience for them. Like, this is how you play playoff hockey. We had an easy series against Minnesota. Well, not so easy this time. St. Louis is going to beat them, and they're going to beat them in 6 games.
Yeah, I love Vancouver. Like I think they're a very skilled team, and they remind me a lot of the Leafs, so I have a soft spot for them. But much like this is sort of almost, I think, exactly the same as the Leafs matchup with the Washington Capitals in the first year that they made the playoffs. I think they're going to give them a battle. But I just think between Parayko and Pietrangelo, and you can go on and on with the defense there, and guys like Ryan O'Reilly and Binnington and net, I just don't think Vancouver has enough, especially on the back end and in net, and they're going to realize that. They're going to stretch it out. They're going to win a couple of games. Don't be surprised if Vancouver takes like a 2-1 series lead or wins game 1. But St. Louis is going to win this series. I also agree with you, Nick, that they're going to win it in 6 games. Going to be a great learning experience for Travis Green and the boys, and I think they're going to come back next year with a lot more fight in them. Vancouver's going to be a scary team. Watch out. But not this year. The Blues are going to beat them in 6 games.
Okay, so Vancouver, St. Louis. Vancouver wins in 7 games. I have a tweet for you, Nick. I don't know if I should read you this whole thing, but it simply states this. It's long, but I'll give you the Cole's notes. Elias Pettersson versus Jordan Binnington at roughly the same ages.
Give me a break.
Canucks, Elias Pettersson donates All-Star Game winnings in honor of Brock Besser's sick father. Elias Pettersson pays tribute to late Jason Botchford during his Calder acceptance speech.
Yeah.
Jordan Binnington, quote,
All right.
if you have your period, be quiet. Jordan Binnington, quote, yeah, taxi man, I'd probably rather listen to the radio than listen to you talk on the phone in another language.
I heard he's a bit of a...
Oh, he's an odd duck for sure. Yeah.
Quote, I was thinking, when people who wear the burqas are at the airport, how is the security able to see them that their passport? Seriously. I have nothing else to say. I think St. Louis has blown their fucking chances in this round robin. I think they haven't showed up to play. They're fucking Stanley Cup hungover. They don't want it. And I think Binnington is a fucking dickhead. So I think Canucks will come in with full of piss and vinegar. 7 games, Vancouver Canucks. Book it.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that Binnington's a bit of a dickhead.
He's a dickhead.
He's a dick, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think you're just basing this on character instead of play on the ice. You didn't list one.
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
I agree. I just don't think Binnington aside. I just think the defense from St. Louis is too strong.
But Nick, if I base
Too
on the play,
impenetrable.
if I based on the play on the ice,
Binnington, I could care less what happens to that asshole.
they've lost every game, haven't they? Hasn't St.
Okay,
Louis
but so did
lost?
Boston. You're picking Boston to beat Carolina.
Yeah, I have more faith in Boston than St. Louis.
Well,
I'm
St.
sorry.
Louis beat Boston in the Cup
I
final
think
last year.
I think that was a fluke. That's true too.
Whatever, man.
That's true too.
I think you got a bone to pick with Binnington.
I do.
And you're picking a team that
He's my fantasy goalie.
I don't know,
He's
man.
a racist.
Yes, he is.
I don't know. I think you're getting into your emotional aspect here.
But why not, right? Because who knows what could happen? Why not choose the teams that I really want to win?
Okay. Well,
Because there's no fucking going back to regular season or last season or anything.
It's the COVID Cup.
It's the COVID Cup. You fucking go with what you want.
yeah.
I think you've chosen too many consensus picks.
Me?
I don't know.
You think I've chosen too many?
I'm telling you,
consensus?
there's going to be at least 50% of these consensus picks that go south.
All right. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna reverse one pick I made. I'm gonna pick Calgary over Dallas.
Okay.
So I'm gonna lock that one in. I had that originally, but that's what I'm gonna go with here.
For reversals here?
Yeah.
You know what? No, I'm confident in my picks. Fuck it.
Okay. Okay. So we have them there. We'll have them publicly on our bracket starting tomorrow. We'll be able to see everyone's bracket, including the second and the third round and stuff.
And the ladies too.
Yeah, and the ladies too will have their picks. So it'll be nice and.
Invite Michael.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'll invite him too. Why not? So, yeah. Friends of the show brackets, exactly. You guys are invited for sure. So, that does it for this long but necessary episode 13 of the show. You got our take on the Leafs, you got our recaps, you got our predictions, and now we just get to sit back and enjoy the games. It was a night well spent, I think. For no hockey, there was no games on today or tonight. This was a nice attitude adjustment after that debacle of a lottery. I think you're cheered up now.
Oh yeah.
You're in better
after the lottery,
spirits.
I was depressed.
Joe's energy cheered you up.
Yeah,
you needed some Joe in your life.
Yeah, I think we all do it. Some.
Yeah.
For 3 hours, I forgot about the lottery, but now you've reminded me, so I won't be able to sleep, and now we're back to square one.
What about me? I just watched the Leafs get embarrassed
Right,
in
yeah,
Game 5
you're
again. I gotta be honest with you, I did not sleep at all last night.
Fair enough.
After that Leafs game, it was a very unsettling feeling, and I couldn't go to sleep. And usually, I get up in the morning to run, and I couldn't do it. I
actually didn't sleep.
I had
either.
no motivation because the Leafs sucked the fucking life out of me.
Yeah.
That's what that team does to you. You know that song by Simon and Garfunkel that starts off "Hello, darkness, my old friend." That's where we are again.
It's a good song.
And the Leaf Caravan. That's where we are again. But thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So
Hey, like we told Michael, you're welcome anytime. You're a friend of the show officially, and like I said, we'll get you on sooner rather than later. It'll be fun keeping along here and keeping track of our playoff picks. You were a great addition to the show, so pleasure having you on. And is that it, Kyle? Anything else to add?
I got nothing.
You got nothing to add. All right. So with that said, Joe, thank you for joining us. We hope you all enjoyed this 13th edition of the Rink Moose Hockey Podcast, Season 2. Yeah, right. We hope you enjoy the next round as much as we do. And until next time, keep plugged into the Rink Moose Podcast. See ya.
And if you're still listening at this point,
Wow.